Hello, horror lovers. Welcome to our channel. If you enjoy that spine-chilling sensation before going to sleep, you're in the right place. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This is really important to me. Like the video, and don't forget to comment which city you're watching from. Leave your comment now because you'll probably fall asleep after this story. Your support helps us keep bringing the best horror stories. Now turn off the lights, lie down, and get ready for a night of nightmares. As I sit in my decaying armchair, staring out the grimy window at the encroaching forest, I can feel the weight of my solitude pressing down on me like a physical force. The house creaks and groans around me, a symphony of abandonment that echoes my own hollow existence. "Sarah," I whisper, my voice cracking from disuse. "Why did you leave me here alone?" The silence that follows is deafening. It's been 3 years since Sarah's passing, but the pain feels as fresh as the day she drew her last breath. I can still see her lying in our bed, her once vibrant face gaunt and pale, her eyes filled with a mixture of love and regret. "Mike," she had said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Promise me you'll stay strong. Promise me you won't let the darkness consume you." I had nodded, tears streaming down my face. "I promise, my love, I promise." But how naive I was. How could I have known the true depth of the darkness that awaited me? I forced myself to stand, my joints creaking in protest. The floorboards groan beneath my feet as I shuffle to the kitchen. The tap sputters and coughs before reluctantly offering a trickle of rusty water. I fill a glass and take a sip, grimacing at the metallic taste. "Is this what I've been reduced to?" I mutter to myself. "A ghost in my own home?" As if in response, a gust of wind rattles the windows. For a moment I could swear I hear my name carried on the breeze. I shake my head, trying to clear the cobwebs of loneliness from my mind. The kitchen calendar catches my eye. It still turned to the month Sarah died, as if time itself stopped that day. I reach out a trembling hand to flip the page, but I can't bring myself to do it. It feels like a betrayal, like I'm leaving her behind. "I'm sorry, Sarah," I choke out. "I'm not as strong as you thought I was." I stumble back to my armchair, collapsing into its worn embrace. The house settles around me, its creaks and groans a macabre lullaby. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the room, I feel the familiar tendrils of despair wrapping around my heart. The isolation of this place, once a refuge for Sarah and me, now feels like a prison. The nearest neighbor is miles away, and the dense Maine forest surrounds us on all sides. In the fading light, the trees seem to loom closer, their branches reaching towards the house like grasping fingers. "Stop it," I scold myself. "You're letting your imagination run wild." But as the darkness deepens, so does my unease. The whisper of wind through leaves begins to sound like hushed voices, and the shadows in the corners of the room seem to writhe and dance. I close my eyes, trying to shut out the encroaching night. "Sarah," I plead, "I need you. I can't do this alone." The house remains silent, but for a moment I swear I feel a gentle touch on my shoulder. My eyes snap open, but there's nothing there. Just the empty room and the growing darkness beyond the windows. As I drift off into a fitful sleep, I can't shake the feeling that something has changed. The air feels heavier, charged with an energy I can't explain. In my dreams, I hear Sarah's voice, but her words are lost in a cacophony of rustling leaves and creaking branches. I wake with a start, heart pounding. The room is pitch black, the only light coming from the full moon outside. As my eyes adjust, I realize with growing horror that the trees outside seem closer than ever, their branches scraping against the window panes. And then I hear it, clear as day, carried on the night wind. "Mike." My name whispered by a voice that is both familiar and alien. I stumble to the window, peering out into the moonlit forest. For a split second, I see a figure standing at the tree line, a woman with long, dark hair. "Sarah?" I gasp, pressing my face against the cold glass. But as quickly as it appeared, the figure vanishes, melting back into the shadows of the forest. I'm left alone once more, my heart racing, my mind reeling. As I sink back into my chair, I can't shake the feeling that this is just the beginning. The loneliness that has been my constant companion for the past 3 years suddenly feels different, charged with anticipation and dread. What's happening to me? I whisper into the darkness. The trees outside rustle in response, and I swear I can hear my name again, carried on the wind. Whatever is coming, I realize with a chill, I am woefully unprepared. The grief and isolation that have defined my existence are about to give way to something far more terrifying. And as the night wears on, I sit in my chair, watching the forest and waiting for the whispers to come again. The emptiness of the house engulfs me as I shuffle through the dimly lit hallway. Each step echoes in the silence, a stark reminder of how alone I truly am. I pause at the bottom of the stairs, my hand resting on the worn banister where Sarah's delicate fingers once trailed. "Another day without you," I whisper, my voice hoarse from disuse. "How many more can I endure?" The house creaks in response, as if sharing my pain. I make my way to the kitchen, our once cheerful breakfast nook now a graveyard of happy memories. The chair where Sarah used to sit remains, pulled out slightly, just as she left it on that final morning. I slump into my seat, staring at the empty space across from me. I miss you, Sarah. God, I miss you so much it hurts to breathe. My gaze falls on the chipped mug she favored, still sitting in its place on the counter. I can almost hear her laughter, smell the aroma of her favorite chamomile tea. "Remember how you used to tease me about my coffee addiction?" I say to the empty room, a ghost of a smile tugging at my lips. The smile fades as quickly as it appeared, replaced by the familiar ache of loss. I force myself to stand, to go through the motions of making coffee. The routine feels hollow without Sarah's presence, her gentle humming as she prepared breakfast, her soft kiss on my cheek as she handed me my mug. As the coffee brews, I find myself drawn to the window overlooking my backyard. The dense Maine forest looms beyond, a wall of green that seems to press in on all sides. I used to find it beautiful, a private sanctuary for Sarah and me. Now it feels oppressive, isolating. "Is this what you wanted for me, Sarah?" I ask, pressing my forehead against the cool glass. "To waste away in this house, surrounded by memories and trees?" The coffee maker sputters to a stop, but I make no move to pour a cup. Instead, I remain at the window, watching as the wind rustles through the leaves. For a moment, I could swear I see movement at the edge of the tree line, a flash of white, like the hem of Sarah's favorite sundress. My heart leaps into my throat. "Sarah?" I call out, pressing closer to the glass, but there's nothing there, just shadows and swaying branches. I stumble back, my legs weak. "Get a grip, Mike," I mutter to myself. She's gone. She's not coming back. But the seed of unease has been planted. As I force myself through the motions of the day, half-heartedly tidying up, picking at a tasteless meal, I can't shake the feeling of being watched. Every creak of the house, every whisper of wind through the trees sets my nerves on edge. As night falls, I find myself in my bedroom, perched on the edge of the bed. Sarah's side remains untouched, her pillow still bearing the faint imprint of her head. "I don't know how to do this without you," I confess to the empty room. "How to live, how to move forward. You were my anchor, Sarah. Without you, I'm adrift." I lie down, not bothering to change out of my day clothes. Sleep has become an elusive thing, filled with vivid dreams of Sarah that leave me more exhausted than refreshed. But tonight feels different. The air is heavy, charged with an energy I can't explain. As I drift off, I hear a sound that jolts me back to wakefulness. My name, carried on the wind. "Mike!" I bolt upright, heart pounding. "Sarah?" I call out, my voice trembling. Silence answers me, broken only by the gentle tapping of branches against the window. I rise on shaky legs, drawn to the glass like a moth to flame. The full moon illuminates the yard, casting long shadows across the lawn. And there, at the edge of the forest, I see her. Sarah, radiant in her white sundress, her dark hair flowing in a non-existent breeze. She's smiling, beckoning to me. "Sarah," I cry out, fumbling with the window latch. "Sarah, wait." But as the window swings open, she's gone, melted back into the shadows of the forest. I'm left leaning out into the cool night air, my heart racing, my mind reeling. Was it real? I whisper, scanning the tree line desperately. Or am I finally losing my mind? As if in answer, a gust of wind whips through the room, carrying with it the unmistakable scent of Sarah's perfume. And beneath it, something else, earthy, ancient, and undeniably ominous. I slam the window shut, stumbling back from it. The loneliness that has been my constant companion suddenly feels different, charged with anticipation and dread. Whatever is happening, whatever is coming, I am woefully unprepared. As I sink back onto the bed, I can't shake the feeling that this is just the beginning. The grief and isolation that have defined my existence are about to give way to something far more terrifying. What's happening? I ask the empty room, my voice barely above a whisper. Sarah, if you're out there, if you can hear me, I need you. Please help me understand. But only silence answers, punctuated by the whisper of wind through leaves and the ominous creaking of the house around me. As the night wears on, I lie awake, watching the shadows dance across the ceiling and waiting for the whispers to come again. The lonely widower, once consumed by grief, now faces a darkness he never could have imagined. And as the trees seem to inch closer to the house, with each passing moment, I can't help but wonder, what price will I have to pay for answers? And more terrifyingly, am I prepared to pay it? The night air is thick with an unsettling stillness as I sit in my dimly lit living room, the only sound the gentle ticking of the old grandfather clock in the corner. It's been months since Sarah's passing, and the isolation of our remote Maine home weighs heavily upon me. I've grown accustomed to the silence, to the emptiness, but tonight feels different. I lean back in my worn armchair, closing my eyes and exhaling slowly. Another sleepless night, I mutter to myself, rubbing my temples. That's when I hear it. So faint at first, I'm sure I've imagined it. Mike. My eyes snap open, heart suddenly racing. Hello, I call out, my voice sounding unnaturally loud in the quiet house. There's no response, just the persistent ticking of the clock. I shake my head, chuckling nervously. Get it together, old man. You're hearing things now. But as I settle back into my chair, trying to calm my nerves, it comes again. Clearer this time, carried on a breeze that shouldn't exist in my closed-up home. Mike. I'm on my feet in an instant, spinning around, searching for the source. Who's there? I demand, my voice trembling despite my attempt at bravery. The house remains silent, mocking my fear with its stillness. I take a deep breath, forcing myself to think rationally. It's just the wind, I tell myself. Old houses make strange noises. That's all this is. I make my way to the kitchen, deciding that a glass of water might help calm my nerves. As I reach for a glass, the whisper comes again, seeming to emanate from just behind me. Mike. Listen. The glass slips from my hand, shattering on the floor. I whirl around, pressed against the counter, my heart pounding so hard I fear it might burst from my chest. Who are you? I shout, my voice cracking. What do you want? Silence is my only answer, broken only by my ragged breathing. I close my eyes, counting to 10, trying desperately to regain my composure. When I open them again, I half expect to see some spectral figure standing before me. But there's nothing. Just my empty kitchen, bathed in moonlight streaming through the window. That's when I notice it. The trees outside seem closer. I blink hard. Sure, I must be seeing things. But no. The massive pines that have always stood at a respectful distance from the house now loom just beyond the glass, their branches scraping gently against the window pane. Impossible, I breathe, inching closer to the window. They couldn't have grown. Not so quickly. As if in response to my disbelief, the whisper comes again, this time clearly emanating from the forest beyond. Mike, come to us. I stumble backward, my legs weak with fear. No, I mutter, shaking my head vigorously. No, this isn't real. I'm dreaming. I must be dreaming. But I know deep in my bones that this is no dream. The whispers, the moving trees, it's all terrifyingly real. I race back to the living room, snatching up my cell phone. No signal, of course. We never get reception out here. I'm truly alone. As the night wears on, I pace the house, checking every window, every door. The trees seem to press closer with each passing hour, their branches reaching for the house like gnarled fingers. And always, always, the whispers continue. Mike, join us. Mike. By dawn, I'm a wreck, huddled in the corner of the living room, my eyes wild and bloodshot. The first rays of sunlight offer little comfort as I see the full extent of what's happened overnight. The trees now form a tight circle around the house, their trunks pressed against the walls, branches intertwined to form a living cage. As I stare out at the unnatural forest that has claimed my home, a terrible realization dawns on me. This is only the beginning. Whatever force is at work here, whatever cosmic horror has set its sights on me, it's not going to stop until it has what it wants. What do you want from me? I cry out, my voice hoarse and desperate. The trees rustle in response, and for a moment, I swear I see a face formed in the pattern of leaves and branches. It's gone in an instant, but the whisper remains, now seeming to come from everywhere at once. Mike, the forest calls. Answer. I sink to my knees, overwhelmed by the impossibility of my situation. The logical part of my mind struggles to make sense of what's happening, while a deeper, more primal part recognizes the ancient power at work here. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, I force myself to stand, to face the day and the terror it brings. I don't know what's coming, but I know I can't hide from it. Whatever secrets the forest holds, whatever debt is being called in, I have no choice but to see it through. All right, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. I'm listening. What do you want me to do? The whispers grow louder, more insistent, and as I stand there surrounded by the impossible forest that was once my sanctuary, I can't shake the feeling that my life as I knew it is over. A new chapter is beginning, one filled with dark mysteries and ancient powers beyond my comprehension. And all I can do is listen to the whispers and pray I have the strength to face what comes next. The morning light filters weakly through the dense canopy of trees that now surrounds my house. I stand at the living room window, coffee cup clutched tightly in my trembling hands, staring in disbelief at the transformed landscape before me. This can't be happening, I mutter, my voice hoarse from a night of fitful sleep and terrified outbursts. Trees don't move. They can't. But the evidence is undeniable. The forest that once stood at a respectful distance has crept closer overnight, forming an impenetrable wall of green mere feet from my home. The closest trees press against the sides of the house, their branches scraping against the windows like skeletal fingers seeking entry. I set my coffee down and rub my eyes, half hoping that when I look again, everything will be back to normal. But when I open them, the encroaching forest remains. Sarah, I whisper, wishing more than ever that my wife was here. What's happening to me? To our home? As if in response, a gust of wind rustles through the leaves, creating a sound almost like whispers. I shudder, remembering the voices I heard in the night. Determined to face this impossible situation head-on, I steel myself and walk to the front door. My hand hesitates on the doorknob for a moment before I twist it open and step outside. The morning light filters weakly through the dense canopy of trees that now surrounds my house. I stand at the living room window, coffee cup clutched tightly in my trembling hands, staring in disbelief at the transformed landscape before me. This can't be happening, I mutter, my voice hoarse from a night of fitful sleep and terrified outbursts. Trees don't move. They can't. But the evidence is undeniable. The forest that once stood at a respectful distance has crept closer overnight, forming an impenetrable wall of green mere feet from my home. The closest trees press against the sides of the house, their branches scraping against the windows like skeletal fingers seeking entry. I set my coffee down and rub my eyes, half hoping that when I look again, everything will be back to normal. But when I open them, the encroaching forest remains. "Sarah," I whisper, wishing more than ever that my wife was here. "What's happening to me? To our home?" As if in response, a gust of wind rustles through the leaves, creating a sound almost like whispers. I shudder, remembering the voices I heard in the night. Determined to face this impossible situation head-on, I steel myself and walk to the front door. My hand hesitates on the doorknob for a moment before I twist it open and step outside. The air is thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. The trees loom over me, their branches forming a claustrophobic tunnel leading away from the house. I take a tentative step forward, leaves crunching under my feet. "Hello?" I call out, my voice sounding small and insignificant in the face of this arboreal invasion. "Is anyone there? Can anyone explain what's going on?" Only the rustling of leaves answers me. I press on, moving deeper into the newly formed forest. With each step, the trees seem to close in further, their trunks twisting and bending in ways that defy nature. "This isn't possible," I say aloud, trying to calm myself with the sound of my own voice. "Trees don't move like this. They don't grow overnight." But even as I say it, I watch in horror as a nearby sapling visibly stretches upward, its trunk elongating and branches spreading wider in a matter of seconds. I stumble backward, my heart pounding. "No, no, no," I mutter, shaking my head vigorously. "This isn't real. It can't be real." As I turn to flee back to the house, I find my path blocked by a massive oak that wasn't there moments ago. Its gnarled trunk seems to form a face, hollow knots for eyes and a twisted branch for a mouth. "Mike," it seems to groan, the sound of creaking wood forming my name. I cry out in terror, ducking under low-hanging branches and pushing through undergrowth that appears to grab at my clothes. When I finally burst out of the woods, I'm panting and covered in scratches. The house stands before me, now completely surrounded by the ever-encroaching forest. I rush inside, slamming the door behind me and leaning against it, trying to catch my breath. "What do you want?" I shout, my voice cracking with fear and frustration. "Why are you doing this?" Silence is my only answer, but I can feel the forest pressing in, watching, waiting. I spend the rest of the day moving from window to window, watching in horrified fascination as the trees continue their slow but relentless advance. By nightfall, the branches are tapping insistently at every window, leaves pressed flat against the glass. The house groans under the pressure of roots and trunks pushing against its foundation. I sit in the center of the living room, as far from the windows as I can get, a baseball bat clutched in my white-knuckled grip. "You can't have me," I say, trying to sound braver than I feel. "This is my home. You can't take it." But even as I say it, I hear a crack from upstairs. I race up to find a branch has punctured through the guest room window, leaves unfurling in the stale indoor air. "No!" I cry, swinging the bat at the intruding limb. It splinters under my attack, sap oozing from the wound, but two more branches quickly take its place. I back out of the room, slamming the door shut, but I know it's only a temporary solution. The forest is coming, inexorably, unstoppably. As I slump against the hallway wall, exhausted and terrified, a horrible thought occurs to me. What if this is somehow connected to Sarah's death? To the strange, feverish rambling she spoke in her final days about the heart of the forest and ancient bargains. "Sarah," I whisper, tears streaming down my face. "What did you do? What have you gotten me into?" The house creaks ominously around me, wood splintering as the forest continues its relentless advance. I know that by morning my home will be unrecognizable, swallowed by this impossible, encroaching woodland. As night deepens, I huddle in my bedroom, watching the shadows of branches dance across the walls. The whispers have started again, unintelligible but insistent, calling me to some unknown destiny. I close my eyes, trying to block it all out, but I know it's futile. The forest is here. It wants something from me, and it won't stop until it gets it. As I drift into an uneasy sleep, I can't shake the feeling that this is only the beginning of a terrifying journey into the heart of an ancient, unknowable mystery. The trees press closer, their shadows growing longer, and I am trapped in their ever-tightening embrace. The bedroom is bathed in an eerie blue glow from the digital clock on my nightstand. 3:17 a.m. I've been staring at those numbers for hours now, watching each minute tick by with agonizing slowness. Sleep eludes me, driven away by the incessant whispers that seem to emanate from the very walls of the house. Mike, Mike, come to us, Mike. I squeeze my eyes shut, pressing my palms against my ears in a futile attempt to block out the sounds. Leave me alone, I mutter through gritted teeth. Please, just let me sleep. But the whispers continue, a soft yet insistent chorus that penetrates my every defense. I throw off the covers and stumble to the bathroom, flicking on the harsh fluorescent light. The face that greets me in the mirror is haggard, dark circles under bloodshot eyes, testament to my ongoing ordeal. What's happening to me? I ask my reflection, half expecting it to answer with the same whispers that haunt my nights. I splash cold water on my face, the shock momentarily drowning out the voices. But as I reach for a towel, they return louder than before. Mike, the forest needs you, Mike. Shut up, I shout, hurling the towel at the mirror. You're not real. This isn't happening. My outburst is met with silence, but only for a moment. Then, as if in response to my defiance, the whispers grow to a crescendo, surrounding me on all sides. I stumble out of the bathroom, down the stairs, desperate to escape the cacophony in my head. But there's no reprieve. Every room in the house seems to vibrate with those otherworldly voices. In the kitchen, I fumble for the coffee maker, my hands shaking as I try to measure out the grounds. It's just sleep deprivation, I tell myself, trying to cling to some semblance of rationality. You're overtired. That's all this is. But even as the comforting aroma of brewing coffee fills the air, I know I'm lying to myself. This is something more. Something I can't explain or understand. I pour myself a cup, the scalding liquid burning my tongue as I gulp it down. For a brief, blessed moment, the pain drowns out the whispers. But it's short-lived. Mike. We're waiting, Mike. Join us. What do you want from me? I cry out, my voice cracking with exhaustion and fear. Why won't you let me sleep? As if in answer, a gust of wind rattles the windows, and I swear I can see faces formed in the shadows cast by the trees outside. Grotesque, twisted visages that leer at me before dissolving back into darkness. I sink to the floor, my back against the kitchen cabinets, and pull my knees to my chest. The coffee cup lies forgotten on the counter as I rock back and forth, trying to shut out the world. Sarah, I whimper, longing for my wife's comforting presence. Sarah, I need you. I don't know what to do. But Sarah is gone, and I'm alone with the whispers and the encroaching madness they bring. As the night wears on, I wander from room to room, a ghost in my own home. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside, sets my nerves on edge. The whispers follow me, sometimes fading to a barely audible murmur, other times rising to a feverish pitch that threatens to drown out my own thoughts. In the living room, I catch sight of an old photo of Sarah and me, taken on a hiking trip years ago. We're standing at the edge of a forest, smiling, blissfully unaware of the terror that would one day hold for me. Is this your doing, Sarah? I ask the photo, my voice hoarse from hours of one-sided conversations with the voices in my head. Did you know about this? Is that why you made me promise to stay here after you were gone? The photo offers no answers, just that frozen moment of happiness that now feels like it belonged to someone else entirely. As dawn approaches, I find myself back in bed, staring at the ceiling. The whispers have faded to a dull background hum, but sleep still refuses to come. My mind races, trying to make sense of what's happening to me. Am I going mad? Is this some elaborate hallucination brought on by grief and isolation? Or is there truly something supernatural at work here, some force beyond my understanding that's trying to communicate? The first rays of sunlight begin to creep through the window, and with them comes a moment of terrible clarity. Whatever is happening, whatever force is at work here, it's not going to stop. These sleepless nights, filled with maddening whispers and creeping dread, are just the beginning. As I finally drift into a fitful sleep, exhaustion overcoming my fear, one last whisper follows me into my dreams. Soon, Mike. Very soon. I wake hours later, groggy and disoriented, the events of the night feeling like a distant nightmare. But as I stumble to the window and look out at the forest that seems to have crept even closer overnight, I know the truth. The whispers will return tonight, and the night after, and I fear that soon, very soon, I'll have no choice but to answer their call. The attic stairs creak ominously under my weight as I ascend, flashlight in hand. The beam of light dances across dusty boxes and forgotten furniture, casting long shadows that seem to writhe in the corners of my vision. I've avoided this space for years, too painful with its remnants of a happier life, but desperation has driven me here. There has to be answers, I mutter to myself, voice hoarse from lack of sleep. Sarah wouldn't leave me like this without some kind of explanation. The whispers that have plagued my nights seem muted up here, as if the very air is too thick with memories for them to penetrate. I move carefully through the cluttered space, my free hand trailing over cardboard boxes labeled in Sarah's neat handwriting. Christmas decorations, Mike's college books, wedding album. My throat tightens at that last one, and I have to pause, leaning against a sturdy oak dresser to steady myself. Focus, Mike, I chide myself. You're here for a reason. As I push deeper into the attic, my light falls upon a small, ornate chest I don't recognize. It's tucked away in the furthest corner, partially hidden beneath an old quilt. My heart races as I approach, a mixture of anticipation and dread coursing through me. The chest is locked, but the key hangs from a delicate chain wrapped around its handle. With trembling fingers, I insert the key and turn it. The lock clicks open with a sound that seems impossibly loud in the stillness of the attic. Inside, nestled on a bed of dried flowers and herbs that still retain a faint earthy scent, lies a leather-bound journal. I recognize it immediately as Sarah's, though I've never seen this particular one before. My hands shake as I lift it from the chest, a folded piece of paper falling from between its pages. I unfold the note, Sarah's familiar handwriting bringing a fresh wave of grief and longing. My dearest Mike, if you're reading this, then the time has come for you to know the truth. I'm so sorry for the burden I've placed upon you, my love. Know that everything I did for us. The journal will explain everything. Be brave, my darling. The forest is waiting. All my love. Always. Sarah. Confusion and fear war within me as I clutched the note. What did you do, Sarah? I whispered to the empty attic. What have you gotten me into? With a deep breath, I opened the journal to its first entry, dated just a few months after we moved into this house. Something's calling to me from the forest. At first, I thought it was just the wind, but now I'm certain. There's a presence out there, ancient and powerful. It knows my name. I sink to the floor, my back against the chest as I continue to read. Sarah's entries detail her growing obsession with the forest, the voices she heard calling to her at night, the strange symbols she began to see in the patterns of leaves and bark. As I delve deeper into the journal, the attic around me seems to fade away. I'm lost in Sarah's words, in her descent into a world I never knew existed right outside our door. She writes of midnight rituals at the edge of the clearing, of offerings left beneath the oldest oak, of promises made to entities she couldn't fully comprehend. One entry, dated about a year before her illness, catches my eye. I've done it. I've made the pact. The forest spirit has granted me more time, more life. But the price? Oh, the price is steep. I don't know if I can bear it. But I had to for Mike. He's not ready to lose me yet. I only hope he can forgive me when the time comes. My hands tremble so violently that I nearly drop the journal. Sarah, I choke out, tears streaming down my face. What have you done? I read on, my horror growing with each page. Sarah had bargained with something ancient and powerful, something that dwelled in the heart of the forest. She had gained years of life, staving off an illness that should have taken her much sooner. But the price was our future, our life together. The final entry, dated just days before she died, is almost illegible, the writing erratic and desperate. It's time. The forest is calling in its debt. I can feel my life ebbing away, flowing back into the trees. Mike, my love, if you ever read this, know that I'm sorry. So sorry. The burden falls to you now. The forest will call and you must answer. Be strong, my darling. Find me in the heart of the woods. I close the journal, my mind reeling. The whispers that have haunted me, the encroaching trees. It all makes a terrible kind of sense now. Sarah's bargain didn't end with her death. Somehow I've become entangled in her pact. Why, Sarah? I ask the empty attic, my voice breaking. Why didn't you tell me? We could have faced this together. As if in response, a gust of wind rattles the attic window. I look up, startled, to see a branch scraping against the glass. The tree it belongs to seems impossibly close, far nearer than it was when I entered the attic. With a growing sense of urgency, I gather the journal and the note, tucking them into my pocket. As I make my way back to the attic stairs, the whispers return, louder and more insistent than ever. Mike, the time has come. Join us. I descend the stairs on unsteady legs, my mind a whirlwind of emotions, grief, anger, fear, and a strange sense of anticipation. In the hallway mirror, I catch a glimpse of my reflection and barely recognize myself. My eyes are wild, my hair disheveled, my face pale and drawn. What am I supposed to do? I ask my reflection. How do I even begin to deal with this? The house creaks around me, the sound almost like a response. I make my way to the kitchen, desperately in need of coffee to clear my head. As I wait for the pot to brew, I leaf through Sarah's journal again, hoping to find some clue, some instruction on how to proceed. One passage catches my eye, a description of a clearing deep in the woods where Sarah performed her rituals. She writes of a stone circle, ancient and moss-covered, and of the powerful energy that thrums through the earth there. Is that where I'm supposed to go? I wonder aloud. Is that where I'll find answers? The coffee maker gurgles its completion, and I pour myself a cup with shaking hands. As I take the first sip, scalding and bitter, I realize I've made my decision. I have to go into the forest. I have to find that clearing. I spend the next hour preparing, packing a backpack with water, snacks, a first aid kit, and a flashlight. I tuck Sarah's journal securely inside as well. As I lace up my hiking boots, a sense of calm settles over me. Whatever I'm walking into, at least I'm doing something. The waiting, the sleepless nights of whispers and fear, that was the real torture. At the front door, I pause, my hand on the knob. I'm coming, Sarah, I say softly. Whatever you've gotten us into, we'll face it together. I step outside and the forest seems to exhale, branches swaying in a breeze I can't feel. The whispers rise to a fever pitch, no longer just in my head but seeming to come from every leaf and blade of grass. Come, Mike. Find us. Join us. With a deep breath, I take my first step towards the tree line. The moment my foot touches the soil of the forest floor, a jolt of energy courses through me. The trees seem to part, creating a path I know wasn't there before. As I walk deeper into the woods, the world around me begins to change. Colors become more vibrant, shadows deeper and more complex. The air thickens with an earthy primordial scent that fills my lungs and makes my head swim. I lose track of time as I follow the winding path. It could be minutes or hours later when I finally stumble into the clearing Sarah wrote about. The stone circle stands before me, ancient and powerful. In the center, a figure waits, their back to me. My heart leaps to my throat. "Sarah?" I call out, my voice trembling. The figure turns, and for a moment I see my wife as she was before the illness took her. Vibrant, beautiful, her eyes shining with an otherworldly light. But as I blink, her form shifts, becoming something both more and less than human, a being of leaf and bark and starlight. "Mike," it says, Sarah's voice layered with 1,000 others. "You've come." I step forward, drawn by a force I can't explain. "What is this?" I ask. "What's happening?" The being that both is and isn't Sarah smiles, the expression sending a shiver down my spine. "This is the heart of the forest, Mike, the source of the bargain. Your wife's essence is here, as are countless others who came before." "I don't understand," I say, even as a part of me begins to comprehend the terrible truth. "Sarah gave her life force to the forest in exchange for more time," the being explains. "But the balance must be maintained. A life for a life. She chose you, Mike, to take her place when the time came." I stagger back, overwhelmed. "No," I protest weakly. "I can't. I didn't agree to this." "But you're here," the being says, extending a hand formed of twisting vines and delicate petals. "You answered the call. Deep down, you've always known this was your destiny." As I stand there, torn between fear and a strange, growing acceptance, I realize the whispers have stopped. For the first time in weeks, there's silence in my mind. And in that silence, I hear Sarah's voice, clear and loving. "It's okay, my darling. We'll be together again, part of something greater than ourselves. Take my hand. Join us in the heart of the forest." I look at the being before me, at the hand extended in both welcome and demand. I think of the lonely house behind me, of the life I've been barely living since Sarah's death. I think of the promise I made to her, to be strong, to see this through. With a deep breath, I step forward and take the offered hand. As our fingers intertwine, I feel a rush of energy, of life and death and rebirth. The forest around us pulses, and I understand now. This is where I belong. This is what Sarah prepared me for. "I'm here," I say, my voice stronger than it's been in months. "I'm ready." The being smiles, and in that smile I see Sarah and 1,000 others who came before. As the forest embraces me, as bark and leaf become my new skin, I know that I've found my way home. In the heart of the woods, in the ancient bargain of life and death, I am finally at peace. The lonely widower is no more. I am part of the forest now, and the forest is part of me. And somewhere, in the rustle of leaves and the creaking of branches, I hear Sarah's laughter, welcoming me to our new eternity. The weight of Sarah's journal feels impossibly heavy in my hands as I sit at our old kitchen table. "Sarah," I say to the empty kitchen, my voice cracking, "you could have told me. We could have faced this together." But even as I say it, I know it's not true. Sarah was always the stronger one, always the protector. She would have done anything to spare me pain, even if it meant making a deal with forces beyond our understanding. I continue reading, each entry painting a clearer picture of Sarah's descent into a world I never knew existed. She writes of midnight rituals at the edge of the clearing, of offerings left beneath the oldest oak, of promises made to entities she couldn't fully comprehend. One passage makes me pause, my breath catching in my throat. The forest spirit showed itself to me tonight. It wore a cloak of leaves and shadows, its eyes ancient and knowing. It offered me a bargain, more time, more life. But the price, oh, the price is steep. It doesn't want just my life force, but a successor. Someone to take my place when my borrowed time runs out. I know who it must be, and the thought tears me apart. But I'll do anything for more time with Mike. Anything. No, I whisper, the full implication of her words hitting me like a physical blow. Sarah, no, you didn't. But the truth is there, inescapable in black ink. Sarah had bargained not just with her own life, but with mine as well. She had bought her time with the promise of my future. I slammed the journal shut, unable to read more. I paced the kitchen, my mind reeling, trying to make sense of it all. The whispers I've been hearing, the trees that seem to move closer each day. It's all part of this pact, this debt coming due. Why? I shout, my voice echoing in the empty house. Why didn't you tell me, Sarah? Why did you make this choice for both of us? As if in answer, a gust of wind rattles the windows. I spin around, half expecting to see Sarah's ghost standing there. But there's only the forest beyond the glass, leaves rustling in a breeze I can't feel. I sink back into the chair, burying my face in my hands. The magnitude of what Sarah has done, of what I'm now entangled in, threatens to overwhelm me. But beneath the fear and anger, there's a small part of me that understands, that recognizes the desperate love that drove her to make such a terrible bargain. With shaking hands, I open the journal again, forcing myself to read on. Sarah's entries become more frantic as her borrowed time nears its end. She writes of the forest's growing impatience, of the whispers that plague her nights, of the guilt that eats away at her. The final entry, dated just days before she died, is almost illegible. It's time. The forest is calling in its debt. I can feel my life ebbing away, flowing back into the trees. Mike, my love, if you ever read this, know that I'm sorry. So sorry. The burden falls to you now. The forest will call, and you must answer. Be strong, my darling. Find me in the heart of the woods. I close the journal, my heart heavy with the weight of Sarah's final words. The silence in the house feels oppressive now, charged with the knowledge of what's to come. What am I supposed to do now, Sarah? I ask the empty room. How do I even begin to deal with this? As if in response, the whispers start again, no longer just in my head, but seeming to come from the very walls of the house. Mike, the time has come. Join us. I stand abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. No, I say firmly, surprised by the strength in my voice. I'm not ready. I need time to process this. But even as I say it, I know time is a luxury I no longer have. The forest has been patient, waiting for me to discover the truth. But now that I know, now that the dark pact has been revealed, I can feel its hunger growing. I spend the rest of the day in a daze, moving from room to room in the house that no longer feels like a home. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside, sets my nerves on edge. I find myself talking to Sarah, sometimes pleading for understanding, sometimes raging at her decision. How could you do this to me? I shout at her framed photo on the mantel. How could you make this choice without telling me? But as the anger fades, replaced by a bone-deep weariness, I begin to understand. I think of the fear in Sarah's eyes when we received her diagnosis, of the desperate hope she clung to in her final months. I think of the love that radiated from her even as the illness ravaged her body. You were trying to protect me, I say softly, tracing her smile in the photograph. Even at the cost of your own soul. Oh, Sarah. As night falls, I find myself drawn to the window overlooking the backyard. The forest looms closer than ever, its branches seeming to reach for the house. In the fading light, I swear I can see shapes moving among the trees, flickering forms of leaf and shadow. The whispers grow louder, more insistent. Come to us, Mike. Fulfill the bargain. Join us in the heart of the woods. I press my forehead against the cool glass, closing my eyes against the sight of the encroaching forest. I'm not ready, I whisper. Please, just a little more time. But I know, deep in my soul, that time is running out. The dark pact Sarah made demands payment, and I am the coin with which she bought her borrowed years. As I turn away from the window, my gaze falls on Sarah's journal, still lying open on the kitchen table. A thought strikes me, and I rush over, flipping through the pages with trembling hands. There, near the end, I find what I'm looking for. A description of the clearing where Sarah performed her rituals, where she made her bargain with the forest spirit. Is that where I'm supposed to go? I wonder aloud. Is that where I'll find answers? The house creaks around me, the sound almost like an affirmation. I take a deep breath, squaring my shoulders as I come to a decision. All right, I say, my voice steady despite the fear coursing through me. If I have to face this, I'll do it on my terms. I won't be dragged into the forest by whispers and shadows. I'll go willingly to find the truth and to understand the choice Sarah made. I spend the next hour preparing, packing a backpack with water, snacks, a first aid kit, and a flashlight. I tuck Sarah's journal securely inside as well. As I lace up my hiking boots, a strange calm settles over me. Whatever I'm walking into, at least I'm doing something. The waiting, the sleepless nights of whispers and fear, that was the real torture. At the front door, I pause, my hand on the knob. I look back at the house, at the life Sarah and I built together. Whatever happens next, I know nothing will ever be the same. I'm coming, Sarah, I say softly. Whatever you've gotten us into, we'll face it together. I step outside and the forest seems to exhale, branches swaying in a breeze I can't feel. The whispers rise to a fever pitch, no longer just in my head, but seeming to come from every leaf and blade of grass. Come, Mike. Find us. Join us. With a deep breath, I take my first step towards the tree line. The moment my foot touches the soil of the forest floor, a jolt of energy courses through me. The trees seem to part, creating a path I know wasn't there before. As I walk deeper into the woods, the world around me begins to change. Colors become more vibrant, shadows deeper and more complex. The air thickens with an earthy, primordial scent that fills my lungs and makes my head swim. I lose track of time as I follow the winding path. It could be minutes or hours later when I finally stumble into the clearing Sarah wrote about. The stone circle stands before me, ancient and powerful. In the center, a figure waits, their back to me. My heart leaps to my throat. Sarah? I call out, my voice trembling. The figure turns, and for a moment, I see my wife as she was before the illness took her, vibrant, beautiful, her eyes shining with an otherworldly light. But as I blink, her form shifts, becoming something both more and less than human, a being of leaf and bark and starlight. Mike, it says, Sarah's voice layered with 1,000 others. You've come. I step forward, drawn by a force I can't explain. What is this? I ask. What's happening? The being that both is and isn't Sarah smiles, the expression sending a shiver down my spine. This is the heart of the forest, Mike, the source of the bargain. Your wife's essence is here, as are countless others who came before. I don't understand, I say, even as a part of me begins to comprehend the terrible truth. Sarah gave her life force to the forest in exchange for more time, the being explains. But the balance must be maintained, a life for a life. She chose you, Mike, to take her place when the time came. I stagger back, overwhelmed by the finality of it all, the dark pact revealed in its full, terrible glory. But as I stand there, torn between fear and a strange, growing acceptance, I realize the whispers have stopped. For the first time in weeks, there's silence in my mind. And in that silence, I hear Sarah's voice, clear and loving. It's okay, my darling. We'll be together again, part of something greater than ourselves. The pact is fulfilled, the circle complete. Take my hand. Join us in the heart of the forest. I look at the being before me, at the hand extended in both welcome and demand. I think of the lonely house behind me, of the life I've been barely living since Sarah's death. I think of the promise I made to her, to be strong, to see this through. With a deep breath, I step forward and take the offered hand. As our fingers intertwine, I feel a rush of energy, of life and death and rebirth. The forest around us pulses, and I understand now. This is where I belong. This is what Sarah prepared me for. I'm here, I say, my voice stronger than it's been in months. I'm ready. The being smiles, and in that smile I see Sarah, and 1,000 others who came before. As the forest embraces me, as bark and leaf become my new skin, I know that I've found my way home. In the heart of the woods, in the ancient bargain of life and death, I am finally at peace. The dark pact is fulfilled, the price paid in full, and somewhere, in the rustle of leaves and the creaking of branches, I hear Sarah's laughter, welcoming me to our new eternity. The morning light filters weakly through the dense canopy of trees that now surrounds my house. I stand at the living room window, coffee cup clutched tightly in my trembling hands, staring out at the transformed landscape. The forest that once stood at a respectful distance has crept closer overnight, forming an impenetrable wall of green mere feet from my home. This can't be happening, I mutter, my voice hoarse from another sleepless night. Trees don't move, they can't. But the evidence is undeniable. The closest trees press against the sides of the house, their branches scraping against the windows like skeletal fingers seeking entry. And with them comes a presence, an otherworldly energy that seems to pulse through the very air. I set my coffee down and rub my eyes, half hoping that when I look again, everything will be back to normal. But when I open them, the encroaching forest remains, and with it the undeniable feeling that something has come to collect a debt. Sarah, I whisper, wishing more than ever that my wife was here. What's happening to me? To our home? As if in response, a gust of wind rustles through the leaves, creating a sound almost like whispers. I shudder, remembering the voices I heard in the night. Mike, the time has come. We're here to collect. I shake my head vigorously, trying to clear it of the eerie voices. No, I say firmly, surprised by the strength in my voice. I don't owe you anything. I didn't make any deals. But even as I say it, a nagging doubt creeps in. Sarah's final days, her mysterious remarks about the forest and ancient bargains. Could she have done something? Made some sort of pact that I'm now entangled in? Determined to face this impossible situation head-on, I steel myself and walk to the front door. My hand hesitates on the doorknob for a moment before I twist it open and step outside. The air is thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, but there's something else too. An underlying current of decay and ancient power. The trees loom over me, their branches forming a claustrophobic tunnel leading away from the house. I take a tentative step forward, leaves crunching under my feet. Hello? I call out, my voice sounding small and insignificant in the face of this arboreal invasion. Is anyone there? What do you want from me? The forest seems to shift around me, branches creaking and leaves rustling. And then, carried on a breeze that doesn't touch my skin, I hear it. The debt must be paid, Mike. A life for a life. It's time to fulfill the bargain. I stumble backward, my heart pounding. What bargain? I didn't agree to anything. But the voice continues, relentless and everywhere at once. Not you, Mike. Sarah. Sweet, desperate Sarah. She bargained for more time, more life. And now, the price must be paid. The revelation hits me like a physical blow. Sarah, my beloved wife, had made some sort of deal with whatever this is, and now it's come to collect. Not from her, but from me. No, I say, shaking my head. No, I don't believe you. Sarah wouldn't do that, she wouldn't. But even as I protest, memories flood back. Sarah's miraculous recovery, the extra years we had together that the doctors said were impossible, the way she sometimes stared into the forest with a mixture of gratitude and fear. Her final words to me, "Be strong, Mike. When the time comes, be strong." I sink to my knees on the leaf-strewn ground, overwhelmed by the truth. "Why?" I cry out, tears streaming down my face. "Why didn't she tell me? Why did she make this choice for both of us?" The forest rustles around me, almost sympathetically. "Love makes fools of us all, Mike. Sarah's love for you drove her to desperate measures. She couldn't bear to leave you, not then, so she bargained, not just with her life but with yours as well." I struggle to my feet, anger now mixing with my grief and fear. "That wasn't her choice to make," I shout at the surrounding trees. "I didn't agree to this." "And yet here you are," the voice responds, a hint of amusement in its otherworldly tone. "Bound by love and ancient magic. The debt collector has come, Mike. It's time to pay." I back away, stumbling towards the house. "No," I say firmly. "I need time. I need to understand. You can't just take me." As I reach the porch, I feel the forest's attention shift, its hunger held at bay for the moment. "Time," it seems to sigh. "Always more time." "Very well, Mike. You have until the next full moon. Use it wisely. Seek understanding if you must. But when the moon is round and full, we will come for you." I slam the door behind me, leaning against it and sliding to the floor. My mind reels with everything that's happened, everything I've learned. Sarah's bargain, the debt now falling to me, the looming deadline. Days pass in a blur of frantic research and sleepless nights. I scour Sarah's old journals, finding cryptic references to her deal with the forest. I dig through folklore and mythology, seeking any information on ancient spirits and magical bargains. All the while, the forest presses closer, its presence a constant reminder of the ticking clock. A week before the full moon, I find myself sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by books and printouts. I'm no closer to finding a way out of this, and desperation is setting in. "Sarah," I say to the empty room, "I understand why you did it. I do, but how could you leave me to face this alone?" As if in response, a warm breeze wafts through the room, carrying the scent of Sarah's favorite flowers. For a moment, I swear I feel her presence, comforting and familiar. "You're not alone, my love," I hear, or perhaps imagine. "I'm with you, always. Be strong. Face what's coming with courage." Tears stream down my face, but I feel a new resolve strengthening within me. Sarah made her choice out of love, and now I must make mine. I stand walking to the window to look out at the waiting forest. "All right," I say, my voice steady. "I'm ready to face this, but on my terms." The next week is a whirlwind of preparation. I put my affairs in order, leaving letters for friends and family explaining my disappearance as best I can without revealing the supernatural truth. I spend long hours in meditation, steeling myself for whatever transformation or journey awaits me. On the night of the full moon, I stand on my porch, backpack in hand. The forest has drawn so close that branches now scrape against the house itself. The air thrums with anticipation and ancient power. "I'm here," I call out. "I'm ready to fulfill the bargain." The trees seem to part, creating a path into the heart of the woods. As I take my first step onto the mossy ground, I feel a surge of energy course through me. The forest comes alive around me, leaves whispering and branches creaking in an ethereal symphony. I walk for what feels like hours, deeper and deeper into the woods. The mundane world falls away, replaced by a realm of primal magic and shifting shadows. Finally, I emerge into a moonlit clearing. At its center stands an ancient oak, its trunk twisted into an almost human form. As I approach, the tree seems to awaken. Its bark shifts and flows, forming a face both terrifying and beautiful. When it speaks, its voice is the rustle of leaves and the groaning of ancient wood. "Michael," it intones, "you have come to fulfill the bargain." I stand tall, meeting its gaze. "I have, but I want to understand. What exactly did Sarah promise you? What am I agreeing to?" The tree spirit regards me for a long moment before responding. "Sarah bargained for life, for time not rightfully hers. In exchange, she promised a successor, one who would join with the forest and help maintain the balance of nature. That successor is you, Michael." I take a deep breath, processing this. And what does that mean, exactly? Will I die? A sound like laughter rustles through the clearing. Death? No, Michael. Transformation. You will become one with the forest, a guardian spirit. Your consciousness will expand to encompass every tree, every leaf, every creature that dwells within our realm. It is not an end, but a new beginning. As it speaks, I feel a spark of something unexpected. Excitement. The fear and resentment that have plagued me since discovering Sarah's bargain begin to fade, replaced by a sense of purpose and connection. I understand now, I say softly. This is why Sarah wasn't afraid at the end. She knew she'd become part of something greater. The tree spirit nods, its branches swaying gently. She awaits you, Michael, as do countless others who have joined with us over the millennia. Are you ready to take your place among them? I close my eyes, taking a final moment to say goodbye to my old life. When I open them, I'm filled with a sense of peace and readiness. I am, I say firmly. I'm ready to fulfill the bargain. The tree spirit extends a branch towards me, and I reach out to grasp it. The moment we touch, I feel a rush of energy unlike anything I've ever experienced. My consciousness expands, flowing out into the forest around me. I feel every tree, every plant, every scurrying animal as if they're extensions of my own body. And there, in the heart of it all, I feel Sarah. Not as she was, but as she is now. A vibrant, ever-present energy suffusing the entire forest. Her love wraps around me, welcoming me home. As my physical form begins to change, bark replacing skin and branches sprouting from my outstretched arms, I understand at last the true nature of the debt collector. It was never about punishment or loss. It was an invitation to become part of something ancient and beautiful, to transcend the limitations of human existence. The bargain is fulfilled, the debt paid in full, but it's not an ending. As I feel my consciousness merge with the forest, becoming one with the trees and the earth, and the very essence of nature itself, I realize it's a new beginning. A chance to exist in harmony with the world, to watch over and protect it for centuries to come. And somewhere, in the rustle of leaves and the creaking of branches, I hear Sarah's laughter, welcoming me to our new eternity. The debt collector has come, and in paying the price, I have gained more than I ever could have imagined. The soft glow of my laptop screen illuminates the cluttered dining room table, casting long shadows across piles of ancient tomes and hastily scribbled notes. I've been at this for hours, days even, desperately searching for answers in the murky depths of folklore and occult writings. The weight of Sarah's journal sits heavy beside me, a constant reminder of the impossible situation I find myself in. There has to be something, I mutter, rubbing my tired eyes. Some way to understand what's happening, what Sarah did. I click through another page of obscure mythological references, my eyes glazing over at the dense text. Suddenly, a phrase catches my attention. Forest pacts and nature spirits, ancient rituals of life and death. My heart races as I lean in closer, scanning the article with renewed vigor. It speaks of old beliefs of desperate souls making bargains with primordial forest entities for extended life or other boons. The price, it warns, is often steeper than the petitioner realizes. "Oh, Sarah," I whisper, a chill running down my spine. "Is this what you did?" As if in response, a gust of wind rattles the windows, making me jump. I glance nervously at the tree line visible through the glass, seeming closer than ever in the gathering twilight. Shaking off my unease, I dive back into my research with renewed determination. Hours pass in a blur of ancient texts and esoteric websites. I scribble notes furiously, trying to piece together a coherent picture from the fragments of lore I uncover. As the first rays of dawn begin to creep through the windows, I sit back, exhausted, but with a growing sense of understanding. I found references to rituals, to specific words and actions that might allow me to communicate with whatever entity Sarah made her pact with. It's not much, I say to the empty room, but it's a start. I spend the next few days gathering supplies mentioned in the old texts, specific herbs, candles made from pure beeswax, a silver knife that's never drawn blood. All the while, the forest seems to watch, waiting with an ancient patience that sets my nerves on edge. On the night of the new moon, when the texts say the veil between worlds is thinnest, I stand at the edge of the tree line. My heart pounds in my chest as I lay out the components of the ritual in a small clearing. Okay, I breathe, trying to steady my shaking hands. Here goes nothing. I light the candles, their flickering flames casting dancing shadows across the forest floor. The scent of burning herbs fills the air as I begin to recite the words I've memorized, my voice growing stronger with each syllable. Spirits of the ancient wood, guardians of root and branch, I seek audience with you. By thorn and leaf, by moss and stone, I call to the one who holds the pact of Sarah Williams. For a long moment, nothing happens. The forest remains still, silent save for the usual nighttime sounds. I feel a flush of embarrassment creep up my neck. What was I thinking? That some half-baked ritual from the internet would actually... A gust of wind extinguishes the candles, plunging the clearing into darkness. The temperature drops suddenly, my breath misting in the chill air. And then, I hear it. A voice that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, as ancient as the earth itself. Who dares to call upon the forest keeper? Who seeks knowledge of pacts and bargains beyond mortal ken? I swallow hard, forcing myself to stand tall despite the fear coursing through me. I am Michael Williams, I say, proud that my voice only shakes a little. Husband of Sarah Williams, who made a pact with you. I seek understanding of that bargain and of the debt that now falls to me. A sound like rustling leaves fills the air, almost like laughter. Ah, the promised one. We have been waiting for you, Michael Williams. Your dear Sarah bought her extra years at quite a price. What exactly was that price? I ask, a mix of dread and determination in my voice. What did Sarah promise you? The wind picks up, swirling leaves around me in a dizzying dance. In their movement, I catch glimpses of a form, tall, ancient, with skin like bark and eyes that glow with an inner light. Sarah bargained for life, for time not rightfully hers. The entity explains, its voice like creaking branches. In exchange, she offered a successor, one who would join with the forest, become part of its very essence. That successor, Michael Williams, is you. I stagger back, the full weight of Sarah's bargain hitting me like a physical blow. But I didn't agree to this. I protest weakly. The forest spirit's laughter echoes through the trees. And yet, here you stand, bound by love and ancient magic. The choice was made, the pact sealed. Now the debt must be paid. I shake my head, trying to clear it, to think rationally despite the impossibility of the situation. What exactly does that mean? I ask. What will happen to me? The wind dies down, and I feel the spirit's full attention focus on me. It's an overwhelming sensation, like being scrutinized by the whole of nature itself. You will become one with the forest, it explains. Your consciousness will expand to encompass every tree, every leaf, every creature that dwells within our realm. It is not death, but transformation, a new form of existence. I take a deep breath, processing this information. It's terrifying, yes, but there's also a part of me that feels curious, excited even. And Sarah, I ask, is she part of the forest now too? I feel a wave of what might be affection from the spirit. She is. Her essence suffuses these woods as yours soon will. In joining us, you will be reunited with her in ways your limited human form could never allow. Tears prick at my eyes as I consider this. The thought of being with Sarah again, of sharing in some greater existence with her, is powerfully alluring. But doubt still gnaws at me. How do I know this is real? I ask. How do I know you're not just some hallucination, or that I'm not going crazy? The forest spirit seems to consider this for a moment. Then suddenly the clearing is filled with a soft, golden light. In its glow, I see fleeting images. Sarah, as she was before her illness, smiling and reaching out to me. I feel her love, her presence as real and tangible as if she were standing right beside me. "Oh, Sarah," I whisper, tears flowing freely now. As quickly as it appeared, the vision fades, but the feeling of Sarah's presence lingers, along with a deep sense of peace I haven't felt since her death. "Do you understand now, Michael Williams?" the spirit asks. "Do you see the truth of what awaits you?" I nod slowly, a strange calm settling over me. "I think I do," I say. "But I need time to put my affairs in order, to say goodbye to my old life." The forest rustles around me, and I sense the spirit's agreement. "Very well," it intones. "You have until the next full moon. When it rises, come to this spot. The transformation will begin." With that, the presence fades. The candles sputter back to life, and the forest returns to its normal nighttime state. But I know nothing will ever be truly normal again. The next weeks pass in a blur of activity. I tie up loose ends at work, citing a sudden need for extended leave. I write letters to friends and family, trying to explain my disappearance in terms they might understand, even if they can't fully accept. All the while, I continue my research, delving deeper into accounts of forest spirits and nature magic. I meditate daily, preparing my mind for the enormous change to come. And each night I walk to the edge of the forest, feeling Sarah's presence grow stronger with each passing day. On the night of the full moon, I stand once more in the small clearing. This time, I bring nothing but myself and the clothes on my back. The forest thrums with energy around me, leaves whispering in anticipation. "I'm here," I call out, my voice steady and sure. "I'm ready." The forest spirit materializes before me, its form clearer now. A towering figure of bark and leaf, eyes glowing like fireflies. "Michael Williams," it intones. "Are you prepared to fulfill the bargain? To join with the forest and all its wonders and terrors?" I take a deep breath, feeling a lifetime of human concerns and fears fall away. "I am," I say firmly. The spirit extends a branch-like hand towards me. "Then let the transformation begin." As I reach out to take its hand, I feel a rush of energy unlike anything I've ever experienced. My consciousness expands exponentially, flowing out into the forest around me. I feel every tree, every plant, every scurrying animal, as if they're extensions of my own body. And there, in the heart of it all, I feel Sarah. Not as she was, but as she is now. A vibrant, ever-present energy suffusing the entire forest. Her love wraps around me, welcoming me home. As my physical form begins to change, bark replacing skin and branches sprouting from my outstretched arms, I understand at last the true nature of the bargain Sarah made. It was never about cheating death or buying time. It was an invitation to become part of something ancient and beautiful, to transcend the limitations of human existence. The transformation continues, my consciousness merging with the very essence of the forest. I feel the turning of the seasons, the slow growth of trees, the intricate dance of ecosystems. And through it all I feel Sarah, her presence a constant comfort and joy. As the last vestiges of my human form fade away, I realize that this is not an ending, but a new beginning. The research into the arcane has led me not just to knowledge, but to a whole new plane of existence. In seeking to understand Sarah's bargain, I have become part of it, joined with her in a union more profound than anything our mortal lives could have offered. And as my new awareness settles, as I feel the ebb and flow of life throughout the forest that is now my body, I know that the journey of discovery is far from over. There are mysteries in these woods, in this form of existence, that will take lifetimes to unravel. But now, I have those lifetimes. And I have Sarah by my side. Our essences intertwined in the very fabric of the forest. Together, we will explore the depths of this new reality. Guardians and students of the natural world. The research is complete, the transformation achieved. And yet, I know that the true learning has only just begun. The morning light struggles to penetrate the dense canopy of leaves that now presses against every window of my home. I stand in the living room, coffee growing cold in my trembling hands, as I survey the impossible scene before me. The forest that once stood at a respectable distance has advanced overnight, creating a suffocating green wall mere feet from the house. This can't be happening, I mutter, my voice hoarse from another sleepless night. Trees don't move. They can't. But the evidence is undeniable. Branches scrape against the glass like skeletal fingers seeking entry. Roots have breached the foundation, snaking across the basement floor. The very air seems thick with an otherworldly presence, a silent hunger that sets my nerves on edge. I set my mug down and rub my eyes, half hoping that when I look again, everything will be back to normal. But when I open them, the encroaching forest remains, more menacing than ever. Sarah, I whisper, longing for my late wife's comforting presence. What's happening? What did you do? As if in response, a gust of wind rattles the windows, carrying with it the faintest whisper of my name. I shudder, remembering the voices that have plagued my dreams for weeks now. Determined to face this impossible situation head-on, I steel myself and walk to the front door. My hand hesitates on the doorknob for a moment before I twist it open and step outside. The air is thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. But there's something else too, an underlying current of decay and ancient power. The trees loom over me, their branches forming a claustrophobic tunnel leading away from the house. I take a tentative step forward, leaves crunching under my feet. Hello? I call out, my voice sounding small and insignificant in the face of this arboreal invasion. Is anyone there? What do you want from me? The forest seems to shift around me, branches creaking and leaves rustling. And then, carried on a breeze that doesn't touch my skin, I hear it. Mike, the time has come. Join us. I stumble backward, my heart pounding. No, I say, shaking my head vigorously. This isn't real. I'm not hearing voices from the trees. I'm not. But even as I deny it, memories flood back. Sarah's miraculous recovery years ago, the extra time we had together that the doctor said was impossible, the way she sometimes stared into the forest with a mixture of gratitude and fear. Her final words to me, "Be strong, Mike. When the time comes, be strong." I retreat to the house, slamming the door behind me. My mind races, trying to make sense of the impossible. Could Sarah have made some sort of deal? A bargain with whatever is out there? And if she did, what does that mean for me? Days pass in a blur of increasing terror and confusion. The forest continues its relentless advance, trees pressing closer, roots cracking the driveway and buckling the floors. I barricade the windows, but branches still find ways to creep through the smallest cracks. The whispers grow louder, more insistent, filling every moment with their eerie chorus. A week into this nightmare, I sit at the kitchen table, surrounded by hastily scribbled notes and open books on folklore and the occult. My laptop screen glows with dozens of open tabs, each filled with arcane information on forest spirits and ancient pacts. There has to be an explanation, I mutter, running my hands through my unkempt hair. Some way to stop this, to break whatever deal Sarah made. As if in response to my words, a particularly violent gust of wind shakes the house. I look up to see a large branch has punctured the kitchen window, leaves unfurling in the stale indoor air. "No!" I cry, leaping up and grabbing a knife from the counter. I hack at the branch frantically, sap oozing from the wounds I inflict. But for every piece I cut away, 2 more seem to take its place. Exhausted and defeated, I sink to the floor, my back against the cabinets. "Why?" I shout at the invading forest. Why are you doing this? What do you want from me? The wind picks up again, and this time the whispers are clearer than ever. Join us, Mike. Fulfill the bargain. Become one with the forest. I shake my head, tears streaming down my face. I didn't make any bargain. I didn't agree to this. But even as I protest, a horrible realization dawns on me. I may not have made the deal, but Sarah did, and somehow, I'm the one left to pay the price. The next few days become a desperate race against time. I delve deeper into my research, searching for any clue, any ritual that might help me communicate with whatever entity is behind this. I barely eat or sleep, driven by the knowledge that the forest is closing in, that soon there will be nowhere left to hide. On the third night, as the full moon rises over the tree-choked landscape that was once my yard, I make my stand. I've drawn a circle of salt in the living room, surrounded by candles and symbols I've cobbled together from a dozen different sources. The air is thick with the scent of burning sage and my own fear-tinged sweat. I call upon the spirit of the forest, I intone, my voice shaking despite my best efforts. I seek audience with the one who holds Sarah Williams's pact. Show yourself. For a long moment, nothing happens. The house creaks and groans as roots continue their invasion, but the otherworldly presence remains stubbornly silent. I'm about to give up, to admit defeat, when suddenly every candle in the room gutters out at once. The temperature plummets, my breath misting in the suddenly frigid air. And then, before my disbelieving eyes, the very shadows seem to coalesce, forming a towering figure of bark and leaf and ancient power. Michael Williams, it intones, its voice like the creaking of ancient oaks. At last you call upon us directly. We have been waiting. I swallow hard, forcing myself to meet its gaze, 2 pinpricks of bioluminescent light in a face of gnarled wood. What do you want from me? I ask, proud that my voice only shakes a little. What was the bargain Sarah made? The forest spirit regards me for a long moment before responding. Your Sarah bargained for life, for time not rightfully hers. In exchange, she promised a successor, one who would join with the forest and help maintain the balance of nature. That successor, Michael Williams, is you. I stagger back, the full weight of Sarah's bargain hitting me like a physical blow. But I didn't agree to this, I protest weakly. The spirit's laughter rustles through the room like wind through leaves. And yet, here you stand, bound by love and ancient magic. The choice was made, the pact sealed. Now the debt must be paid. I shake my head, trying to clear it, to think rationally despite the impossibility of the situation. What exactly does that mean? I ask. What will happen to me if I join you? The spirit extends a branch-like hand towards me. You will become one with the forest. Your consciousness will expand to encompass every tree, every leaf, every creature that dwells within our realm. It is not death, Michael Williams, but transformation. A new form of existence. I take a step back, overwhelmed by the implications. And if I refuse? The room darkens, the spirit's presence becoming more oppressive. Then the forest will continue to reclaim what is ours. Your home, your town, all will be swallowed by root and branch. And in the end, you will join us anyway, but as a lesser being, without the power and awareness we offer freely now. I close my eyes, tears streaming down my face. Sarah, I whisper. Oh, Sarah, what have you done? And then, carried on a breeze that shouldn't exist in my sealed-up house, I hear her voice. Be strong, my love. Trust in the path I've laid for you. We'll be together again, I promise. I open my eyes, a strange calm settling over me. The forest spirit still looms, patient and ancient, its hand extended in both invitation and demand. If I agree, I say slowly, if I join you, will I see Sarah again? The spirit's eyes seem to soften, glowing with a warmer light. She is part of us now, as you will be. Your essences will intertwine in ways your limited human forms never could. It is not the reunion you imagine, but it is so much more. I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of this moment, the enormity of the choice before me. The house creaks around us, roots and branches continuing their inexorable advance. There's no going back, I realize. The only way out is through. With a trembling hand, I reach out and grasp the spirit's offered branch. The moment we touch, I feel a surge of energy unlike anything I've ever experienced. My consciousness expands exponentially, flowing out into the forest around me. I feel every tree, every plant, every scurrying animal as if they're extensions of my own body. And there, in the heart of it all, I feel Sarah, not as she was, but as she is now. A vibrant, ever-present energy suffusing the entire forest. Her love wraps around me, welcoming me home. As my physical form begins to change, bark replacing skin and branches sprouting from my outstretched arms, I understand at last the true nature of the closing circle. It was never a trap or a punishment. It was an embrace, an invitation to become part of something ancient and beautiful, to transcend the limitations of human existence. The transformation continues, my consciousness merging with the very essence of the forest. I feel the turning of the seasons, the slow growth of trees, the intricate dance of ecosystems. And through it all, I feel Sarah, her presence a constant comfort and joy. As the last vestiges of my human form fade away, as the house that was once my home is reclaimed by root and branch, I realize that this is not an ending, but a new beginning. The circle is complete, the bargain fulfilled, and in its completion, I have gained more than I ever could have imagined. The forest that once threatened to swallow me whole has become my body, my consciousness expanded to encompass every leaf and twig. The whispers that tormented me are now a symphony of life that I conduct with every thought. And Sarah, my beloved Sarah, is with me always, our essences intertwined in the very fabric of nature. The closing circle is complete, and in its center, I am reborn. I toss and turn in my bed, sleep eluding me as it has for countless nights. The whispers from the forest have become a constant, maddening drone. But tonight, something is different. As I drift into a fitful slumber, I hear a voice that sends chills down my spine, my wife's voice intertwining with the susurration of the trees. "Mike," she calls, her tone both familiar and alien. "Mike, listen to me." I bolt upright, heart pounding. Is this a dream, or something far more sinister? "Sarah?" I whisper into the darkness, my voice trembling. The wind picks up outside, branches scraping against the windows like skeletal fingers. Sarah's voice comes again, but this time it's distorted as if speaking through water. "The forest, it's coming for you, Mike, you need to..." Her words cut off abruptly, replaced by a cacophony of whispers. I strain to make out what they're saying, but the voices overlap, creating a dizzying whirlpool of sound. Suddenly, Sarah's voice breaks through again, crystal clear and terrifyingly close. "Join us, Mike. It's the only way." I spin around, half expecting to see her standing in the room. But there's nothing, just shadows and the faint outline of furniture in the gloom. "What do you mean?" I call out, desperation creeping into my voice. "Sarah, what's happening?" The whispers rise to a fever pitch and I clamp my hands over my ears, trying to block out the noise. But Sarah's voice cuts through as sharp as a knife. "The pact, Mike. Remember the pact." And then, as suddenly as it began, the voices cease. The silence that follows is deafening, broken only by my ragged breathing. I sit there in the dark, my mind reeling. Was Sarah trying to warn me or lure me to my doom? The forest spirit must be toying with me, using my grief as a weapon. But a small part of me wonders, what if it really was Sarah? What if she's trapped somehow, caught between worlds? As dawn breaks, I'm no closer to answers. But one thing is certain, I can no longer trust my own senses. The line between reality and nightmare has blurred, and I fear I'm walking a dangerous tightrope between the two. The forest waits, patient and ancient, as I grapple with my sanity. And somewhere in the whispers of the wind, I swear I can still hear Sarah calling my name. As I race against time, a preternatural storm gathers. The forest's fury is palpable. I stand at the window, my breath fogging the glass as I stare out at the rapidly darkening sky. It's barely noon, but an unnatural twilight has descended upon the land. The wind howls, a banshee's wail that sets my teeth on edge. This isn't right, I mutter to myself, watching as the trees in my yard bend and sway like dancers in a frenzied ballet. It's not supposed to storm today. But then again, nothing has been right since the whispers started. Since I discovered the terrible truth about Sarah's pact with the forest spirit, a flash of lightning illuminates the world outside, and for a brief moment, I swear I see faces in the bark of the trees, twisted, agonized visages that vanish as quickly as they appear. Thunder follows, so loud it rattles the windows and sends vibrations through the floorboards. I step back from the window, my heart racing. This is no ordinary storm. This is something else entirely. The lights flicker once, twice, and then go out completely, plunging the house into darkness. I fumble for my phone, using its dim light to navigate through the suddenly unfamiliar terrain of my own home. Gotta get to the basement, I mutter, trying to keep myself focused. Emergency kits down there, flashlights, radio, everything I need. As I make my way down the hallway, a gust of wind slams against the house with such force that I stumble, catching myself against the wall. And then I hear it, a sound that makes my blood run cold. Cracking wood, splintering, breaking. I spin around, pointing my phone's light toward the source of the noise. There, at the end of the hallway, a branch has punched through the wall. It writhes like a serpent, reaching into my home with grasping, leafy fingers. No, I whisper, backing away. No, no, no. I turn and run for the basement door, my feet pounding against the hardwood floors. Behind me, I hear more cracking, more splintering. The house groans as if in pain. I practically fall down the basement stairs in my haste, slamming the door shut behind me. My trembling hands fumble with the lock and I let out a shaky breath as I hear it click into place. For a moment, I lean against the door, trying to catch my breath. The basement is pitch black, the only light coming from my phone's screen. I use it to locate the emergency kit, relief washing over me as my hand closes around a heavy-duty flashlight. As I click it on, the basement is bathed in a harsh white light. Shadows dance across the walls, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm not alone down here. Get it together, Mike, I tell myself, my voice sounding small and frightened in the vast darkness. You need to think. You need to figure out what to do. I make my way to the old radio on the workbench, hoping against hope that I can pick up some kind of emergency broadcast. As I fiddle with the dials, nothing but static fills the air, and then cutting through the white noise, a voice. But it's not the calm, professional tone of an emergency responder. It's a voice I know all too well. Mike, Sarah's voice crackles through the speaker. Mike, can you hear me? I stumble back, nearly dropping the radio in shock. Sarah? I stammer, knowing it's impossible but unable to deny what I'm hearing. The storm, Mike, her voice continues, fading in and out like a bad connection. It's not just a storm, it's the forest, it's coming for you. What do you mean? I shout at the radio, as if volume could somehow make this make sense. Sarah, where are you? What's happening? I don't have much time, she says, her voice growing more urgent. The pact, Mike. You need to understand the pact. What pact? I demand, frustration and fear battling for dominance in my voice. Your journal mentioned a deal with a forest spirit, but I don't understand. What did you do, Sarah? There's a long pause, filled only with the hiss of static. When Sarah's voice returns, it's softer, tinged with regret. I was dying, Mike. The cancer. It was everywhere. The doctors gave me months, but I couldn't bear the thought of leaving you. So I searched for alternatives. Another crack of thunder shakes the house, and I hear something heavy fall upstairs. I glance nervously at the ceiling, praying it holds. I found an old book, Sarah continues, either unaware of or unbothered by the chaos above. It spoke of the ancient spirits of the forest, of their power over life and death. I made a deal. What kind of deal? I ask, though a part of me already knows the answer. My life for yours, she says simply. The spirit granted me 5 more years of life, free from cancer. But in return, it would come for you when those years were up. I feel as if the floor has dropped out from under me. My legs give way, and I sink to the cold concrete, still clutching the radio like a lifeline. Why? I choke out. Why would you do that? Because I love you, Sarah's voice breaks. I thought I'd find a way out of it. I thought I'd discover some loophole, some way to break the pact. But I ran out of time. Above me, I hear the sound of shattering glass. The storm, no, the forest, is breaking into the house. I don't have much time. Sarah, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. How do I stop this? There has to be a way. There is, she says, her voice growing fainter. But Mike, the price... The radio erupts in a burst of static, Sarah's voice lost in the noise. I shake the device, desperate to hear more, but it's no use. Sarah, I yell, knowing it's futile. Sarah, come back, what's the price? But there's no answer. Just the howling of the wind, the cracking of wood, and the relentless static radio. I sit there for a moment, overwhelmed by the revelation. Sarah sacrificed herself for me, and now the forest has come to collect its due. A loud thump from upstairs jolts me back to reality. I can't stay here. I need to find a way out, a way to break this pact. I scramble to my feet, grabbing the emergency kit and shoving as much as I can into a backpack. Flashlights, batteries, a first aid kit, some energy bars, anything that might help me survive whatever comes next. As I'm zipping up the bag, I hear something that makes my blood run cold. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps coming down the basement stairs. But that's impossible. I locked the door. I know I locked it. I swing my flashlight toward the staircase and my heart nearly stops. There, descending the steps with unnatural grace, is a figure. It looks human at first glance, but as it comes into full view, I realize how wrong I am. Its body is made of twisted branches and gnarled bark, leaves and moss covering it like a second skin. Where a face should be, there's only a hollow with 2 glowing green points of light for eyes. Michael, it says, its voice like rustling leaves and creaking wood. It's time. I back away, my mind racing. This must be the forest spirit, the one Sarah made the pact with, the one that's come to claim me. No, I say, trying to sound braver than I feel. No, I won't go with you. This wasn't my pact. I didn't agree to this. The spirit tilts its head, an almost curious gesture. But you benefited from it, did you not? 5 more years with your beloved. A debt was incurred, it must be paid. I continue backing up until I hit the wall. There's nowhere left to run. There has to be another way, I plead. Something else I can offer you. The spirit takes another step forward, its wooden limbs creaking with the movement. There is one alternative, it says slowly. Hope flares in my chest. What is it? I'll do anything. Become the new guardian of the forest, the spirit says. Bind yourself to the land. Protect it for eternity. Your life as you know it will end, but you will not die. I swallow hard, the implications of this choice weighing heavily on me. And if I refuse? The spirit's eyes flare brighter. Then I take you, as per the original agreement. Your life ends, and your soul becomes part of the forest. Neither option is good, but at least as a guardian, I'd retain some semblance of myself. I think of Sarah, of her sacrifice. Can I do any less? If I agree to be the guardian, I say slowly, will you release Sarah's soul? Let her rest in peace? The spirit is silent for a long moment, and I fear I've overstepped. But then it nods, a single solemn movement. Agreed. I take a deep breath, steeling myself for what's to come. Then I accept. I'll be your guardian. As soon as the words leave my mouth, the spirit moves with lightning speed. Before I can react, its wooden hands are on either side of my head. Pain explodes behind my eyes, and I feel as if I'm being torn apart and put back together all at once. I scream, the sound echoing off the basement walls. Images flash through my mind, centuries of forest life, births and deaths, growth and decay. I feel roots spreading from my feet, burrowing into the concrete. My skin hardens, taking on the texture of bark. And then, as suddenly as it began, it's over. I gasp, falling to my knees. But when I look at my hands, they're not hands anymore. They're branches, flexible, yet strong. I've become one with the forest. The spirit steps back, its work done. The pact is fulfilled, it says. You are now the guardian. Protect the forest, and it will protect you. With that, it dissolves into a swirl of leaves and twigs, disappearing into the air. I stand slowly, marveling at my new form. I can feel every tree, every plant in the forest. Their lives are my life now. As I make my way up the stairs, I realize the storm has stopped. The house is in ruins, open to the sky. But beyond, the forest stands tall and vibrant. I step outside into my new domain. A gentle breeze rustles through my leaves, and I swear I hear Sarah's voice one last time. Thank you, Mike. I love you. I smile, a wooden approximation of my old expression. I love you too, Sarah, I whisper to the wind. Rest now, I'll keep watch. And as the sun sets on my old life, I take my place among the trees, ready to begin my eternal vigil as guardian of the forest. Face to face with an entity beyond human comprehension, I feel my sanity slipping away. The forest has gone eerily silent. No birds chirp, no insects buzz. Even the wind seems to hold its breath. I stand at the edge of a moonlit clearing, my heart pounding so loudly, I'm sure it must be audible for miles. I'm here, I call out, my voice cracking with fear and exhaustion. You wanted me. Well, here I am. For a long moment, nothing happens. Then the air in the center of the clearing begins to shimmer and twist. A form coalesces, part shadow, part mist, part something else entirely. It's vaguely humanoid, but constantly shifting, never settling on a single shape. Michael, it speaks, its voice like rustling leaves and creaking branches. You have come. I swallow hard, trying to steady my nerves. You didn't give me much choice, I retort, surprised by the bitterness in my own voice. The spirit tilts what I assume is its head. Choice? You had a choice, Michael. Your wife made hers. The mention of Sarah sends a sharp pain through my chest. Why? I demand. Why did you make that deal with her? Why are you doing this to me? The spirit's form ripples, and for a moment, I see flashes of faces within it. Some human, some animal, all tinged with an otherworldly quality that makes my skin crawl. Balance, it says simply. All things must be in balance. A life extended must be paid for. I clench my fists, anger temporarily overriding my fear. So you're what, some kind of cosmic accountant? Balancing the books with people's lives? A sound emerges from the spirit, something between a laugh and the groan of a tree in a high wind. You see it in such simple terms. But the forest is ancient, Michael. It has its own laws, its own needs. The spirit begins to move towards me, and I have to fight the urge to run. Every instinct screams at me to flee, but I know it would be futile. What do you want from me? I ask, hating how small and scared my voice sounds. The spirit stops mere feet away from me. This close, I can see that its form is made up of countless tiny swirling particles, leaves, twigs, bits of bark, all in constant motion. I want what was promised, it says, a life for a life. But more than that, I want a guardian. I blink, confused. A guardian? What do you mean? The spirit's form expands, encompassing more of the clearing. I feel a pressure in my head like it's trying to push its way into my mind. The forest needs protection, it says, from those who would harm it, from the encroachment of the outside world. It needs someone who understands both worlds. Realization dawns on me, bringing with it a new wave of terror. You want me to become part of the forest? Not just part of it. The spirit corrects. Its protector, its voice, its will made manifest. I shake my head, backing away. No, I can't. I'm just a man. I can't do what you're asking. The spirit follows, its presence becoming more oppressive with each step. You can. You must. It is the price of the years you were given. Memories flash through my mind. 5 years of borrowed time with Sarah. 5 years I shouldn't have had. 5 years that are now being called due. What if I refuse? I ask, though I already suspect the answer. The spirit's form darkens, becoming more solid. Then the balance will be restored in the old way. Your life will end, and your essence will feed the forest. I close my eyes, feeling tears begin to form. And if I accept? You will change, the spirit says. You will become more than human, less than spirit. You will be the forest's guardian for as long as it stands. The weight of the choice bears down on me. Death or an eternity of servitude. Neither option seems bearable. Can I have a moment to think? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. The spirit nods, or at least I think it does. Its form shifts in a way that seems affirmative. You have until the moon reaches its zenith, it says. Choose wisely, Michael. As the spirit fades back into the shadows of the forest, I sink to my knees in the clearing. The enormity of the decision before me is overwhelming. I think of Sarah, of the sacrifice she made for me. I think of the life I've lived, the dreams I had for the future. And I think of the forest, ancient, powerful, and now, inexplicably, tied to my fate. The moon climbs higher in the sky as I grapple with my choice. Soon, very soon, I'll have to face the spirit again and give my answer. Whatever I decide, I know my life will never be the same. The forest waits, patient and eternal, as I confront the most impossible decision of my life. To save myself, I must become one with the very thing that haunts me. Can I bring myself to do it? The moon hangs heavy in the sky, a silent witness to my internal struggle. The forest spirit's ultimatum echoes in my mind, each option more terrifying than the last. Death or eternal servitude? What kind of choice is that? I pace the moonlit clearing, my footsteps muffled by the thick carpet of leaves. The trees seem to lean in, their branches reaching towards me like grasping fingers. What would you do, Sarah? I whisper to the night air, hoping against hope for some sign, some guidance from beyond. But there's no answer. Just the soft rustling of leaves in the breeze. I sink to the ground, burying my face in my hands. I can't do this, I mutter. I can't make this choice. But you must, comes a voice like creaking wood and rustling leaves. I look up to see the forest spirit has returned, its form shimmering in the moonlight. It towers over me, a being of shadow and mist and ancient power. The time has come, Michael, it says. What is your decision? I slowly get to my feet, my legs shaking beneath me. I don't know, I admit. How can I choose between death and losing my humanity? The spirit's form ripples, and for a moment I see flashes of faces within it, some human, some animal, all tinged with an otherworldly quality. Is humanity so precious? It asks. Is it worth more than the life of the forest, than the balance of nature itself? I shake my head, frustration building. That's not fair. I didn't ask for this. Sarah made that deal, not me. And yet you benefited from it, the spirit counters. 5 years of life that were not yours to claim. The debt must be paid. I feel tears stinging my eyes, hot and angry. So I'm being punished for loving my wife, for wanting to spend more time with her? The spirit's form shifts, becoming more solid. This is not punishment, Michael. It is balance. All things must be in balance. I turn away, unable to look at the spirit any longer. My gaze falls on the trees surrounding the clearing. In the moonlight, their bark seems to writhe and twist, faces forming and dissolving in the patterns. If I become the guardian, I say slowly, what exactly would that mean? What would I be? The spirit moves closer, its presence a palpable weight in the air. You would be the voice of the forest, its protector, its will made manifest in the world of humans. Would I still be me? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. There's a pause, longer than I'm comfortable with. You would be more, the spirit finally says, and less. Human, yet not. Spirit, yet not. Something in between. I close my eyes, trying to imagine it. To be one with the forest, to feel the life of every tree and plant coursing through me. It's terrifying. And yet... And the alternative? I ask, though I already know the answer. Your life ends, the spirit says simply. Your essence returns to the forest, feeding the cycle of life and death. I take a deep breath, steeling myself for what I'm about to say. If I agree to be the guardian, will you release Sarah's soul? Let her rest in peace? The spirit is silent for a long moment, and I fear I've overstepped. But then it nods, a single, solemn movement. Agreed. I look around the clearing one last time, trying to memorize every detail. The rough bark of the trees, the soft moss underfoot, the way the moonlight dapples the ground through the canopy. If I do this, will I still see the world this way? Or will everything change? My voice cracks and I have to start again. I accept. I'll be your guardian. As soon as the words leave my mouth, the spirit moves with impossible speed. Before I can react, its misty form envelops me completely. Pain explodes behind my eyes, and I feel as if I'm being torn apart and put back together all at once. I scream, the sound echoing through the forest, but it quickly turns into something else. A sound more like the groaning of wood in a strong wind. Images flash through my mind, centuries of forest life, births and deaths, growth and decay. I feel roots spreading from my feet, burrowing deep into the earth. My skin hardens, taking on the texture of bark. My arms stretch and branch out, leaves sprouting from my fingertips. And then, as suddenly as it began, it's over. I gasp, falling to my knees. But when I look at my hands, they're not hands anymore. They're branches, flexible yet strong. I've become one with the forest. The spirit steps back, its work done. The pact is fulfilled, it says. You are now the guardian. Protect the forest, and it will protect you. With that, it dissolves into a swirl of leaves and twigs, disappearing into the air. I stand slowly, marveling at my new form. I can feel every tree, every plant in the forest. Their lives are my life now. The choice I've made is irreversible, terrifying, and yet, there's a sense of rightness to it. As the first light of dawn breaks over the horizon, I take my place among the trees. I am no longer just Mike. I am the forest's guardian, its protector, its voice. And as the sun rises on my new existence, I whisper a goodbye to my old life, to Sarah, to everything I've known. The forest whispers back, welcoming me home with trembling hands and a racing heart. I begin the ceremony that will change me forever. The forest clearing is bathed in an otherworldly glow, moonlight filtering through the canopy above. I stand at its center, surrounded by a circle of ancient oak trees that seem to lean in, watching my every move with unseen eyes. Are you certain you wish to proceed? The forest spirit's voice whispers on the wind, rustling the leaves around me. I swallow hard, my mouth dry with fear and anticipation. I am, I respond. my voice barely audible even to my own ears. The spirit materializes before me, its form a swirling mass of leaves, twigs, and mist. Then we shall begin. Remember, Michael, once started, this ritual cannot be undone. I nod, steeling myself for what's to come. I understand. Tell me what I need to do. The spirit gestures to the ground at my feet. First, you must connect with the earth. Kneel and place your hands upon the soil. I do as instructed, lowering myself to the forest floor. As my palms touch the cool, damp earth, I feel a subtle vibration, as if the ground itself is alive and pulsing beneath me. Now, the spirit continues, you must offer something of yourself to the forest, a token of your humanity, freely given. I hesitate for a moment, then reach into my pocket and pull out my wedding ring. The gold band glints in the moonlight, a symbol of the life I'm leaving behind. Will this suffice? I ask, holding it up. The spirit nods. It carries great meaning for you. It will do. Bury it in the earth before you. With shaking hands, I dig a small hole and place the ring inside. As I cover it with soil, I whisper, "Goodbye, Sarah. I hope you can forgive me for what I'm about to do." As soon as the ring is buried, I feel a surge of energy coursing through the ground and into my body. I gasp at the sensation, my fingers digging into the earth. "Good," the spirit says. "Now, you must speak the words of binding. Repeat after me. I, Michael, offer myself to the forest." I, Michael. I begin, my voice growing stronger with each word. Offer myself to the forest. I relinquish my mortal form and embrace the eternal cycle of nature. I repeat the phrase, feeling a tingling sensation spreading from my hands up my arms. My life for the life of the trees, my breath for the wind in their leaves. As I speak these words, the tingling intensifies, becoming almost painful. I grit my teeth and continue. My blood for their sap, my bones for their roots. The pain is overwhelming now. I cry out but force myself to finish the incantation. I am no longer merely human. I am the forest's guardian, its voice, its will made manifest. As I utter the final words, the world around me explodes into a kaleidoscope of sensations. I feel as if I'm being torn apart and reassembled at the molecular level. Every nerve ending is on fire, every cell in my body screaming as it transforms. I'm vaguely aware that I'm screaming too, but the sound is changing, becoming less human and more like the groaning of wood in a strong wind. Through the haze of pain and transformation, I hear the spirit's voice. Embrace the change, Michael. Do not fight it. Become one with the forest. I try to focus on those words to let go of my fear and resistance. Gradually, the pain begins to subside, replaced by a strange, euphoric sensation. I can feel the life force of every tree, every plant, every creature in the forest flowing through me. My skin hardens and takes on the texture of bark. My fingers elongate and branch out, leaves sprouting from their tips. My feet sink into the earth, roots spreading out beneath me. As the transformation nears its completion, I open my eyes, or what used to be my eyes. My vision has changed, expanded. I can see in ways I never thought possible, perceiving the flow of energy through the forest, the intricate web of life that connects all things. The spirit approaches, its form now seeming less alien and more familiar. "The ritual is complete," it says. "How do you feel, guardian?" I take a moment to assess my new form, my new senses. "I feel everything," I respond, my voice now a mixture of human speech and the rustling of leaves. The trees, the animals, the very soil. I can feel it all. "That is your gift and your responsibility now," the spirit explains. "You are the forest's protector, its voice in the world of humans." I nod, understanding flooding through me. This is my purpose now, my eternal duty. "What of Sarah?" I ask, remembering the reason for my sacrifice. The spirit's form shimmers. Her soul is at peace now, released from the pact. Your sacrifice has balanced the scales. A wave of relief washes over me, tinged with sadness for the life I've left behind. Rest now, the spirit says. Allow yourself to fully merge with the forest. When you awaken, your new life will truly begin. As the spirit fades away, I feel myself sinking deeper into the earth, my consciousness spreading out through the roots and branches of the forest. The last thought that passes through my mind before I surrender to this new existence is a mixture of awe and trepidation. I am no longer just Michael. I am the forest. And this is only the beginning of my eternal vigil. As the ritual progresses, I feel my very essence entwining with the forest. There's no turning back now. The pain that had been searing through my body begins to subside, replaced by an otherworldly sensation of expansion. It's as if my consciousness is stretching, reaching out beyond the confines of my physical form. I can feel the life force of every tree, every blade of grass, every creature that calls this forest home. My eyes snap open, but my vision is fundamentally altered. The world around me is awash in hues I've never seen before, pulsing with energy that was previously invisible to my human senses. I look down at my hands, watching in awe as my skin takes on the texture of bark, my fingers elongating into branch-like appendages. What's happening to me? I gasp, my voice a strange mixture of human speech and the rustling of leaves. The forest spirit materializes before me, its form now seeming less alien and more like a natural extension of the woodland around us. You are becoming one with the forest, Michael. Your transformation is nearly complete. I flex my new limbs, marveling at the way they move. I can feel everything. The trees, the soil, the animals. It's overwhelming. That is your gift now, the spirit explains. And your responsibility. You are the forest's eyes, ears, and voice. As the spirit speaks, I become aware of a new sensation. Roots are spreading from what used to be my feet, burrowing deep into the earth. The connection grounds me, quite literally, to the forest floor. I'm afraid, I admit, my voice quavering. What if I lose myself entirely? What if there's nothing left of who I was? The spirit moves closer, its presence a comforting warmth. You will change, yes, but you will not be lost. Your experiences, your memories, your essence, these things will remain. They will guide you in your new role. I nod, trying to take comfort in those words. Suddenly, a flood of information washes over me. I can sense a deer drinking from a stream a mile away, feel the growth of fungi beneath the forest floor, hear the whisper of wind through leaves across the entire woodland. It's too much, I gasp, overwhelmed by the input. How do I control it? Breathe, the spirit instructs. Focus on your center. The information will always be there, but you will learn to filter it, to focus on what's important. I follow the spirit's guidance, concentrating on my core. Gradually, the flood of sensations recedes to a manageable level. Good, the spirit nods approvingly. You are adapting quickly. As I regain my composure, a thought occurs to me. Sarah, I say, my voice tinged with both hope and fear. Is she... Can I still feel her presence somehow? The spirit is silent for a moment, its form shimmering slightly. Your connection to the human world is not severed, Michael, but it is changed. Sarah's essence has moved on, as all mortal essences do. But the love you shared, the memories you hold, these remain a part of you, and thus, a part of the forest. I feel a pang of grief, but it's different now. Less sharp, more like a bittersweet ache that spreads through my newly formed branches. What now, I ask, looking around at the forest that has become my new body, my new home. Now, the spirit says, you learn, you grow, you protect. The forest faces many threats, from human encroachment, from climate change, from those who would exploit its resources without thought for the consequences. You are its guardian now, its line of defense. I straighten up, feeling a new sense of purpose flow through me. How do I do that? I wasn't a warrior or a protector before. The spirit's form ripples in what I interpret as amusement. You have new strengths now, Michael. You can influence the growth of trees, communicate with the creatures of the forest, even affect the weather on a small scale. These abilities will grow as you do. As if in response to the spirit's words, I feel a surge of energy coursing through me. A nearby sapling suddenly shoots up, growing years' worth in mere seconds. Did I do that? I ask, astonished. You did, the spirit confirms, and that is merely the beginning. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. You must maintain the balance of the forest, not upset it. I nod solemnly, understanding the weight of my new role. I'll do my best, I promise. I know you will, the spirit says. Its form begins to fade, becoming one with the forest around us. Remember, Michael, you are never alone. The entire forest is with you always. As the spirit disappears, I'm left alone in the clearing. But alone doesn't quite describe it anymore. I can feel the life of the forest pulsing around me, through me. I am part of something vast, ancient, and incredibly alive. I take a deep breath, feeling the air flow not just into lungs, but through leaves and needles across miles of woodland. This is who I am now. This is my new existence. Goodbye, Michael the man, I whisper to the wind. Hello, Michael the forest. And with that, I let my consciousness spread out into the woodland, ready to begin my eternal vigil as the guardian of the forest. A new awareness floods through me. I am no longer just Mike. I am something more, something ancient. As the first rays of dawn break through the canopy, I feel myself stirring from a state that wasn't quite sleep, but rather a deep communion with the forest. My consciousness, which had been spread across miles of woodland, begins to coalesce back into a more focused form. I open my eyes, or rather, I become more acutely aware of the light filtering through thousands of leaves that now serve as my eyes. The world around me is alive with colors and sensations I never knew existed. I can see the flow of sap in the trees, feel the delicate footsteps of insects traversing my bark, hear the whisper of wind through leaves miles away. Good morning, forest, I murmur, my voice a mixture of human speech and rustling leaves. To my surprise, the forest responds, not in words, but in a symphony of sensations, a warm pulse of life energy, the gentle sway of branches, the soft chirping of awakening birds. It's a greeting, I realize. The forest is welcoming its new guardian. I stretch my newly formed branches towards the sky, feeling the sunlight energize me in a way I've never experienced before. Photosynthesis, I realize with a start. I'm actually photosynthesizing. This is incredible, I breathe, marveling at the complex chemical reactions taking place within my new form. A familiar presence materializes beside me, the forest spirit that guided me through my transformation. How do you feel, guardian? It asks, its voice like the whisper of wind through leaves. I take a moment to assess myself before answering. Different, vast, connected. It's overwhelming, but in a good way. The spirit nods, its form shimmering in the morning light. You are adapting well, but there is much yet to learn. As if on cue, I become aware of a disturbance at the edge of my consciousness. Something feels wrong, out of balance. What's that? I ask, alarm creeping into my voice. Something's not right. Ah, the spirit says, you're sensing a threat to the forest. This is part of your role as guardian. What do you feel? I concentrate, focusing my awareness on the source of the disturbance. Machines, I say after a moment. I hear machines, and the trees are afraid. Loggers, the spirit confirms. They seek to clear a portion of the forest for development. What will you do, Guardian? I feel a surge of protective instinct coupled with a hint of panic. I don't know. How can I stop them? I'm just a tree now, aren't I? The spirit's form ripples in what I interpret as amusement. You are far more than just a tree, Michael. You are the forest's will made manifest. You have powers you've yet to discover. I nod, trying to quell my anxiety. Okay, so what can I do? Reach out with your mind, the spirit instructs. Feel the trees in danger. Connect with them. I do as it says, extending my consciousness towards the threatened area. I can feel the fear and distress of the trees, hear the ominous rumble of approaching machinery. Now, the spirit continues, imagine their roots growing, spreading, intertwining. I concentrate, visualizing the network of roots beneath the forest floor expanding and strengthening. To my amazement, I feel it happening in real time. The trees are responding to my will. Good, the spirit encourages. Now, the undergrowth. Make it dense, impenetrable. I focus on the ferns, bushes, and vines on the forest floor. Under my influence, they begin to grow at an accelerated rate, tangling together into a thick barrier. Remarkable, I murmur, feeling the forest respond to my commands. This is but a fraction of what you're capable of, the spirit says. With time and practice, you'll learn to communicate with the animals, influence the weather, even alter the very landscape if necessary. I nod, still focusing on fortifying the forest's defenses. And the loggers? What about them? That, the spirit says, is where your human experiences become valuable. You understand their motivations, their fears. You can influence them in subtle ways. I think for a moment, then have an idea. The path, I say. I can make it confusing, hard to follow, make them get turned around. Excellent, the spirit approves. A non-violent solution. Implement it. I concentrate once more, subtly altering the forest paths, making them twist and turn in disorienting ways. I can sense the loggers' confusion as they struggle to find their way. After what feels like hours, but could have been minutes, I sense the machines retreating. The imminent threat has passed. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. We did it, I say, a note of wonder in my voice. You did it, the spirit corrects. This was your first test as guardian and you passed admirably. I feel a surge of pride, followed quickly by humility. There's so much more to learn, isn't there? The spirit nods. Indeed. Your journey as guardian is just beginning. But take heart. You have the wisdom of the ancient forest to guide you, and the strength of every tree, every plant, every creature to support you. As the spirit fades away, I'm left alone with my thoughts and the vast living network of the forest. I can feel the gratitude of the trees I saved, the curiosity of the animals witnessing their new guardian, the ever-present pulse of life that flows through every root and branch. I am the guardian, I whisper to myself, feeling the weight and wonder of my new role. I am the forest. And with that affirmation, I settle into my new existence, ready to face whatever challenges may come. The forest has awakened its guardian, and I am finally truly home. With my new role comes terrible responsibility. The weight of centuries settles upon my shoulders. As days blend into weeks, and weeks into months, I begin to truly understand the magnitude of my transformation. Initial wonder and excitement of my newfound powers give way to a profound sense of responsibility that I feel in every fiber of my being. One crisp autumn morning, as I survey my domain through countless leaves and branches, I sense a disturbance. A group of hikers has wandered off the main trail, venturing into a delicate area where rare orchids grow. They don't know, I murmur to myself, feeling the fragile plants tremble beneath careless feet. They don't understand the harm they're causing. I focus my consciousness, gently manipulating the undergrowth to guide the hikers back to the main path. As they move away, I hear snippets of their conversation. "Did you see that?" one of them says. "The bushes just moved." "Don't be ridiculous," another replies. "It was probably just the wind." I sigh, a sound that rustles through thousands of leaves. The humans remain oblivious to my presence, to the living, sentient nature of the forest around them. It's a lonely feeling. Is this what it means to be a guardian? I ask aloud, not really expecting an answer. To watch and protect, but never be truly seen or understood? To my surprise, the forest spirit materializes beside me, its form shimmering in the dappled sunlight. "You're learning, Guardian," it says, its voice like the whisper of wind through leaves. "The price of power is often solitude." I nod, feeling the truth of those words deep in my wooden core. "It's harder than I expected," I admit. I can feel everything in the forest, every joy, every pain. The woodpecker's satisfaction as it finds a grub, the sapling's struggle to reach the sunlight, the fox's hunger as it hunts. It's overwhelming. The spirit's form ripples in what I've come to recognize as sympathy. "You bear the weight of an entire ecosystem," it says. "It is no small burden." As if to underscore its point, I suddenly become aware of a sharp pain at the edge of my consciousness. I focus on it, my awareness zooming in on a massive old oak. "Something's wrong," I say, alarm creeping into my voice. "The old oak by the river, it's dying." I can feel the tree's distress, its life force ebbing away. Disease has taken hold, spreading through its ancient trunk. "What do I do?" I ask, panic rising. "I can't let it die. It's been here for centuries. It's important." The spirit regards me solemnly. "All things must pass, Guardian. It is the way of nature. The cycle of life and death keeps the forest in balance." I shake my head, or rather, I rustle my leaves in disagreement. "No, there must be something I can do. I have power now, don't I? I should be able to save it." Without waiting for a response, I reach out with my consciousness, pouring my energy into the dying oak. I can feel the disease receding, the tree's life force strengthening. But as I do this, I also feel a drain on my own energy, a weakening of my own roots and branches. "Stop!" The spirit's voice cuts through my concentration. "You must not interfere so directly. The cost is too high." I pull back, feeling drained and confused. "But I saved it," I protest weakly. "Isn't that my job?" The spirit's form flickers, its tone stern. "Your job is to maintain balance, not to play God. By saving that tree, you've disrupted the natural order. Look closer." I extend my senses again, and with a sinking feeling, I realize what the spirit means. The disease I pushed out of the old oak has spread to several younger trees nearby. In saving one life, I've endangered many others. I didn't mean to," I stammer, horror washing over me. "I was just trying to help." "Intent does not negate consequence," the spirit says, its voice softening slightly. "This is the price of power, Guardian. Every action you take has far-reaching effects. You must learn to see the bigger picture, to understand the delicate balance of the entire ecosystem." I feel a deep sadness settle over me, as heavy as the centuries-old branches of the oak I tried to save. "How do I know when to act and when to let nature take its course?" I ask. The spirit is silent for a long moment before responding. "Wisdom," it finally says. "Wisdom that comes with time and experience. You are young yet, Guardian. You will learn." As the spirit fades away, I'm left alone with my thoughts and the constant, sometimes overwhelming awareness of the forest around me. I can feel the old oak still standing but weakened, and the younger trees now fighting the disease I inadvertently spread. "I'm sorry," I whisper to them, knowing they can feel my regret. "I'll do better. I have to do better." The weight of my responsibility presses down on me, a constant reminder of the power I wield and the care with which I must use it. This is the price of my transformation, the burden of being a guardian. As the sun sets, painting the forest in hues of gold and red, I make a silent vow to myself and to the woodland I now embody. I will learn. I will grow. I will protect this place with all that I am, respecting the delicate balance of life and death, growth and decay. For I am no longer just Mike. I am the forest guardian, and the weight of centuries rests upon my shoulders. Through the eyes of the forest, I see the world anew. Beauty and terror intertwine in ways I never imagined. As the seasons change, so too does my understanding of the world around me. What once seemed simple now reveals itself to be infinitely complex. The forest, which I once viewed as a collection of trees and animals, now presents itself as a vast interconnected web of life, each strand vibrating with purpose and meaning. On this particular day, as autumn paints the leaves in brilliant hues of red and gold, I find myself in silent conversation with an ancient maple at the heart of the forest. Its branches creak and sway, communicating in a language I'm still learning to fully comprehend. "You've seen so much," I muse, my voice a whisper of wind through leaves. "Centuries of change, of growth and decay. What wisdom can you share?" The maple's response comes not in words, but in a flood of images and sensations. I see seasons blur by in rapid succession, feel the slow, steady growth of roots deep into the earth, sense the gradual shift of the landscape around us. Patience, I interpret, awed by the tree's perspective. "You're teaching me about patience." A gentle rustling of leaves confirms my understanding. I'm struck by how different this view of time is from my human perception. What once seemed like an eternity now feels like the blink of an eye. As I ponder this, I become aware of movement at the forest's edge. My consciousness shifts, focusing on a group of humans entering the woodland. They carry strange equipment, cameras, microphones, scientific instruments I don't fully recognize. "Researchers," a familiar voice says beside me. The forest spirit has materialized, its form shimmering in the dappled sunlight. "What are they doing here?" I ask, curiosity and caution mingling in my tone. "They study the forest," the spirit explains. "They seek to understand its secrets, its rhythms." I watch as the researchers set up their equipment, taking samples of soil and leaves, recording the sounds of the forest. Their presence stirs mixed feelings within me. They're so small, I observe, so fragile, yet they wield such power. The spirit nods. Humans are a paradox, capable of great destruction, yet also of profound understanding and care. As we watch, one of the researchers approaches the ancient maple I was communing with earlier. She places a hand on its trunk, her touch gentle and reverent. "This tree," she says to her colleague, "it must be hundreds of years old. Imagine the stories it could tell if it could speak." I feel a surge of emotion, amusement, affection, and a touch of sadness. "If only she knew," I murmur. The spirit's form ripples in what I've come to recognize as laughter. Perhaps in time humans will learn to listen as you have. As the day progresses, I observe the researchers with growing fascination. Their careful measurements and excited discussions reveal a depth of care for the forest that I hadn't expected. Yet, at the same time, I'm acutely aware of how much they're missing. "They can't feel it, can they?" I ask the spirit. "The life force flowing through everything, the connections between all living things." "No," the spirit confirms. "Their senses are limited, but their curiosity is boundless." Suddenly, a commotion erupts among the researchers. They've discovered something, a rare species of fungus growing at the base of an old oak. "Incredible," one of them exclaims. "This could be a new species. We need to document everything." As they gather around the fungus, cameras flashing, I feel a twinge of concern. "Will their presence harm it?" I ask the spirit. "That depends on their actions," the spirit replies. "And on yours, guardian." I understand the implied responsibility in those words. Carefully, I extend my influence, subtly encouraging the undergrowth to conceal parts of the fungus colony. Enough remains visible for the researchers to study, but the bulk of it stays hidden, protected. A wise choice, the spirit approves. You're learning to balance protection with discovery. As twilight approaches, the researchers pack up their equipment and prepare to leave. I watch them go, feeling a complex mix of emotions: respect for their dedication, amusement at their limited perception, and a deep, abiding love for the forest they seek to understand. I see them differently now, I confess to the spirit. When I was human, I never truly grasped the impact we have on the world around us. Every footstep, every breath, every action ripples through the ecosystem. The spirit's form glows softly in the fading light. This is the gift and the burden of your new perspective, Guardian. You see both the beauty and the terror of existence, the delicate balance of life and death, growth and decay, preservation and change. I nod, feeling the truth of those words deep in my wooden core. It's overwhelming sometimes, I admit, to feel so much, to know so much. But it is also beautiful, the spirit reminds me. You are now part of something greater than yourself. You see the world as few ever have. As night falls and the forest settles into its nocturnal rhythms, I reflect on the day's events. Through my new eyes, I've witnessed the curiosity of humans, the ancient wisdom of trees, the delicate dance of life in all its forms. Beauty and terror indeed intertwined in ways I never could have imagined in my human life. I stretch my consciousness out across the woodland, feeling every leaf, every root, every creature as an extension of myself. This is my world now, vast and intricate, filled with wonders beyond imagining, and I am its guardian, seeing through eyes both ancient and new, forever changed by this incredible perspective. As guardian, I stand vigil over the forest. But am I its protector or its prisoner? Seasons pass, blending into years, then decades. Time flows differently now, marked not by clocks and calendars, but by the rhythms of nature, the blooming of flowers, the migration of birds, the slow growth of ancient trees. Through it all, I watch, I learn, and I protect. On this particular day, as the first frost of autumn paints the forest in delicate crystals, I sense a disturbance at the edge of my domain. My consciousness, spread across miles of woodland, focuses on the source of the disruption. Humans, I murmur, my voice a whisper of wind through leaves. They're building something. The forest spirit materializes beside me, its form shimmering like mist in the early morning light. Yes, it confirms. They plan to expand their settlement. The forest is in their way. I feel a surge of protective instinct, coupled with a familiar sense of conflict. These humans, after all, are not so different from who I once was. What can we do? I ask, already knowing the answer won't be simple. The spirit's form ripples, a gesture I've come to recognize as a shrug. That, Guardian, is for you to decide. You must balance the needs of the forest with the progress of humanity. I ponder this as I observe the humans setting up their equipment. Bulldozers and chainsaws stand ready to tear into the land I've sworn to protect. Yet I can also sense the underlying motivations. Homes for growing families, jobs for struggling workers, progress for a developing community. It's never easy, is it? I sigh, my leaves rustling with the weight of the decision before me. No, the spirit agrees. The role of guardian is not meant to be easy. It requires wisdom, compassion, and sometimes sacrifice. I extend my consciousness, feeling the lives of every tree, every plant, every creature that would be affected by this expansion. Their fear and uncertainty wash over me, a tidal wave of emotion that threatens to overwhelm my senses. I can't let them destroy this part of the forest, I decide. But perhaps we can guide them to a compromise. With careful concentration, I begin to manipulate the forest itself. I encourage rapid growth in some areas, creating dense thickets that would be difficult to clear. In other areas, I allow the undergrowth to thin, suggesting natural pathways that the humans could use with minimal impact on the ecosystem. As the days pass, I watch the humans struggle against the seemingly uncooperative landscape. Their frustration is palpable, but so is their determination. Finally, after weeks of setbacks, I overhear a conversation that gives me hope. "This isn't working," one of the project leaders says, gesturing at their stalled progress. "We need to reconsider our approach." "What do you suggest?" another asks, skepticism clear in their voice. "Look at the land," the first replies, pointing to the paths I've subtly created. "It's almost like the forest is showing us where to build. What if we worked with it instead of against it?" A ripple of excitement passes through the group as they consider this new perspective. I feel a surge of satisfaction, tempered with caution. This is progress, but my vigil is far from over. "Well done," the spirit murmurs approvingly. "You've guided them towards a more harmonious solution without revealing yourself." I nod, feeling a complex mix of emotions. Pride in my success, yes, but also a deep, abiding loneliness. These humans, my former kin, will never truly know me or understand the role I've played in their lives. "Is this what eternity feels like?" I ask the spirit, a note of melancholy in my voice. Watching, guiding, but never truly connecting. The spirit is silent for a long moment before responding. "Eternity is what you make of it, Guardian. Yes, your role sets you apart, but it also connects you to something greater than yourself. You are the voice of the forest, its protector, its heart." As if in response to these words, I feel a surge of affection from the woodland around me. The trees sway gently, their leaves brushing against my bark in a gesture of comfort and solidarity. The animals of the forest, from the smallest insect to the largest deer, send pulses of gratitude and trust through our shared connection. "You're right," I acknowledge, my spirits lifting. I'm not alone. I'm part of something vast and beautiful. Yet even as I say this, a nagging doubt lingers. Am I truly the forest's protector, or am I bound to it, a prisoner of my own choice? The weight of centuries presses down on me, a reminder of the eternity that stretches before me. There will be more challenges, the spirit warns, sensing my inner conflict. More decisions, more compromises, more moments where you must stand firm. Are you prepared for this endless watch? I take a moment to consider, feeling the ebb and flow of life around me. The forest breathes with me, its rhythms synchronized with my own. This is my purpose now, my eternal duty. I finally respond, my voice filled with quiet determination. For better or worse, this is who I am now. The forest's guardian, its eternal watcher. The spirit nods, its form beginning to fade. Remember, Guardian, that in watching over the forest, you also watch over yourself. You are not separate from this ecosystem. You are an integral part of it. Your growth, your learning, your very existence is intertwined with the forest's own journey through time. As the spirit disappears, I'm left alone with my thoughts and the constant, living presence of the woodland. The humans continue their work, now moving in greater harmony with the land. The forest adapts, resilient and ever-changing, and I watch, eternal and patient, a silent guardian navigating the delicate balance between protection and progress, between the needs of nature and the aspirations of humanity. This is my purpose, my burden, my gift. The eternal watch continues, and I with it, forever changed and forever changing, as timeless as the forest itself.